I think we are weak cognitively and physically because we're fat. My parents were very unhealthy. My mom's an addict. My dad died from complications of type 2 diabetes. So I've always been on this mission to help people with their health. We have the #1 plant protein at the Vitamin Shop. We just got into Sprouts, Hy-Vee, GNC, like we've been crushing it. The pandemic started this crash course to stupidity. At first it's like, well, trust the science, then the fake numbers and the masks, and then all of a sudden, men can get pregnant, women can be men are breastfeeding. I'm a 90s Democrat, I haven't changed. Like I'm pro-choice, but they've moved so far, they're a cult, and they're still wearing masks. Can we be men? Do we have it within us right now to be men? Our testosterone levels in society now are lower than 70-year-olds a generation ago.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
I think we are weak cognitively and physically because we're fat.
I'm Marc Lobliner.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, man. This place is gorgeous.
Oh, thank you, man. Thanks. Yeah, we've had it for a little while now.
Yeah, it's got an ambiance to it. It's crazy. We're just talking on the way in how architecture, how awesome it used to be.
Yes.
And it shows you as a society how much we have devolved.
Right.
There's no pretty architecture. There's no arts. There's no thinking.
Yeah.
There's no creativity. And so you walk into a place like this, it goes, wow, this is what humans are capable of.
Yeah, well, you look at like the historic districts and, I don't like how sometimes we'll say that they overregulate or they try to really get in your business. But I do like the idea that, these historic structures have stayed and, they weren't tore down for a bunch of, tall and skinnies.
They do a good job in Tennessee of that. Like the Ravenswood Mansion, all these different places, they will keep them. There's subdivisions where they'll knock everything down. They'll boom, we got to keep this.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of it, there's an area where there's like an old slaves quarters. There's a place in Franklin with one of those. It's crazy, but it shows you the history, shows you the beauty, how things are constructed, and it gives the area, even when you surround it with planned communities, it gives it that personality.
Exactly.
And I love it, but it's really an honor to be here, man. This is fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man. You're just talking about architecture, driving from Brentwood up 65, coming here, you see that apartment building that is right at the corner of the of when the thing splits.
Yep.
It's like red. I think it's like red, white, and blue, but it looks like a big turd in the middle of where you're supposed to be viewing the city.
Yeah, Nashville has these beautiful old things. And Nashville's the only place. You ever go to Rose Park?
Oh, yeah.
So during COVID, Rose Park stayed open. So my daughter was playing soccer at the time, and a bunch of professional soccer players who played overseas were actually stranded in the U.S. because they shut everything down. So they used to go to Rose Park every morning at 10 a.m., and she'd have the opportunity to play with these professional male soccer players. It was fantastic. But Rose Park, you look to one side, and you got, the Batman building, the AT&T, right? You look to the other side, there's projects.
Yeah.
So Nashville's got this kind of like combination, like this, it's colliding where you have the old stuff, the cool stuff, the city stuff, and then you have projects.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I went to Rose Park Middle School, and so I know it
so
well.
You know it, yeah.
I remember seeing, the needles on the football field, or soccer field, whatever it was when I was going to school there. But that is one of the things, growing up here. I was born and raised in Nashville, and I like that type of diversity. When going to public school in the city, where you got a lot of different ethnicities, got to meet a lot of people in different socioeconomic categories, and I loved it. I feel like it actually taught me how to get along with a lot of different types of people.
Yeah, my kids all go to public school. I went to public school, but I mean, we live in Williamson County.
Yeah.
So we have the best schools in at least the state, top rated schools in even the country, Williamson County. So, I mean, but it's still, when you look at a public school, there is going to be the collision of thoughts, collision of cultures. Sure. And I love it. And my kids have, just being in the fitness industry, my kids have probably seen more than they should see.
Yeah.
Just being around the industry I'm in and the business partners I have and seeing different cultures, different lifestyles, and that's what America is, right?
Yeah.
America is this beautiful melting pot of culture.
Yeah.
And that's why, for me, I'm a public school guy. Some people like homeschool your kids. Here's my issue home. I know that school systems, they could go wrong. Know a lot of stuff. There's a lot of controversy about the books in schools and all that. So my theory is this. My theory is if you have your kid at home, don't rely on the schools to raise your children. when you send them to school, make sure you send them there with your morals, your ethics that you want to, impose upon them.
Yep.
And then let them see other stuff. And if they decide that way is better than your way, maybe it is.
Right.
So, for example, my daughter just got into the Kelley School of Business, Indiana University.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very hard to get into. First thing I announced it on Twitter. First thing, it's like they send their DEI handbook.
Oh, gosh.
And I'm like, yeah, every university has one. So basically the only school option is liberty.
Right.
And so, I mean, what do you do? If your daughter wants a higher education and the network involved. So at the end of the day, if your child is born and raised into the ethics that you want your children to have in your household, and if not, how is someone else imposing their beliefs stronger than you?
Yeah.
Are you spending enough time with your children? Are you talking to your children? Do you have a relationship with your children? Do you truly love your children?
Yeah.
And you have a lot of people who are there with their kids, but are they truly there?
Yeah. Well, what do you think though about for instance, being introduced some of the sexual things at an early age, like 7-year-old, like learning how to give a blowjob?
That's a problem.
Yeah.
That's a problem. And you know how you fix that? Moms. The thing is, what I learned is that men these days are emasculated, female body parts.
Yep.
The thing. Can I say vaginas?
Oh yeah, say whatever you want.
They're the P word of that. Okay, I'm trying to be P. I'm trying not to curse. So men are weak. If you look at when they had the mask mandates in the school, you look at when they had all those overreaching things, when they were doing, who was it that went to the school boards and protested? Who was it that spoke? It was women. It was moms. Why? Because men don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to lose their job. They don't want to be canceled. But women are like, oh no, you mess with my child, you're done. Now that's a problem.
Yeah.
The reason this stuff is happening is because men are letting it happen. I guarantee you this, that book was in my kid's school. I'll be camping outside the school every single day until it's gone, or I'd find a way to pull my kid out of that school. Yeah. But number one is, and I say, you hear this a lot with people are moving from California, but I kind of respect the people like, I'm not moving.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this. I'm going to fight because this is what's right for my country. This is right for my community. So I look at this and I'm like, we're the men. For example, biological men playing female sports. We're the dads. I guarantee if my girl's on a soccer field next to a person who was born with a penis, who is bigger, faster, stronger. My daughter deadlifts 400 pounds. But guess what? A man still has better reaction time.
Sure.
He's going to be stronger. Maybe not lift weight stronger, but just that man strength stronger. Better bone density. The Q angle of the hip, 17 to 19 degree different in female versus males. What does that mean? That means that their legs are like this, which means their knees, there's automatic valgus on it. So every time a girl walks on a soccer field, there's a 5% chance they hurt their ACL. Whereas a man is like this. You want to know why? It's like this. They can give birth. Men cannot have babies. I know that's a controversial statement.
Yeah.
Biological men cannot have babies. If that was going to happen, you'd see I would get arrested because I'll be standing up for my child. So my question is, where are the dads?
Yeah.
Where are the strong men? We can't expect women to do this. It's just not biologically what they do.
Yeah.
Men are the fighters. When you read old books on war, do you read about women going off? Sometimes you want to know when they run out of men.
Right.
Biologically, men need to fight this, but they're just not. So what I will say is that is a problem, but it's fixed easily. It's power in numbers. The problem is everybody's afraid to lose their job.
Yeah. No, I mean, this, the emasculating of men is a major problem. And, you see people being taught this idea of toxic masculinity or, those attributes aren't good. And, we should teach men to be softer and all these things. But I think the result of that we're seeing right now is, society's weak. People are wondering, well, what's really going on? It's like, you don't have men standing up for what's right. You don't have men acting like men, actually defending their families like you're talking about. And it's kind of reaching a boiling point. And I never thought we'd get to this position in the United States. I always thought of us as, revolutionaries, guys that are a country that, stands up and fights and says, no way. But we've been manipulated in a lot of ways. But, my hope is that people are finally recognizing and realizing what's been going on and will actually start to be men.
Can we? can we be men? Do we have it within us right now to be men hormonally? I mean, if you look at men, go to, I would say Walmart, but that's not the place. Go anywhere. You walk outside, men have female deposition of estrogen, female like deposition of body fat, where they're literally shaped like women. They got moobs. They got the fat tie around their stomach. Their hormones are messed up. They're fat. They're weak. Are we really going to expect, and also our testosterone levels in society now are lower than 70-year-olds a generation ago.
Yeah. Why do you think that is?
I think there's a lot of things, but I think mainly a lot of people point to plastics, this, that. I look at the data, and the data on that does not show like enough of an impact from those to actually cause what we're seeing. So I blame one thing. There's one factor more than anything. That's obesity. I think we are weak, and I think we are, declining in hormones, declining in performance, cognitively and physically, because we're fat.
Yeah.
Our nation is fat. And in 2020, we got fatter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because they sat you down, they closed the gyms, they told you stay indoors, and then they delivered beer and fast food to your house because Uber drivers couldn't get COVID.
Right.
Or screw those guys, let them die. And also, when I went into Aldi, my favorite grocery store, they had a sign outside that said heroes work here. I'm sorry, but a grocery clerk is not a hero. You're bagging groceries, bro. So, I mean, and they're like, yeah, I'm a hero. No. So at the end of the day, I think that society, men have just gotten weak.
Yeah.
And the way to fix that is not this generation, is through the kids.
Yeah.
We need this next generation, which, by the way, is overwhelmingly conservative. Did you see that statistic?
I have, yeah.
So females are still going to be, they're feeling based, but this generation coming up is overwhelmingly conservative. And how do you explain that? How do you explain it? And I think we touched on this, we were talking before. I think that the conservatives are now the rebels. And instead of the old Limp Bizkit, kind of like Rage Against the Machine kind of thing we had when we were growing up, now, if you believe in freedom and if you believe in the conservative side, you're the rebel.
Right.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And then, so what I'm seeing is our next generation, as someone who interacts and coaches hundreds of kids a day, is awesome. They will save this world.
That's good. I mean, you look at the whole obesity issue that we're dealing with, and it's like we've seen really over the last 5 years, which is the post-modernism philosophy that, there aren't universal truths, and, that there's a lot of different alternative facts, those type of things. But, you see even doctors saying, oh, it's okay to be fat, and we don't want to fat shame, and, oh, being fat is actually healthy, when we know that it's complete bullshit. We know that they're gaslighting us. But, that's been what's been so surprising to me, is how we can be lied to openly, but if we even debate the lie, we become fat shamers or bad in a certain way.
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. If you support not condoning obesity, you're a murderer. Because the reason 2020 happened, if you look at the data, when COVID first hit in New York, over 70% of the hospitalized patients were obese. Okay, and the rest were old. So it hit the old people and the fat people the hardest. And the reason is being fat is a comorbidity. You are going to die early because you're fat. It is going to be a contributing factor to your death. So when you look at what we do as a society by encouraging weight loss, I'm not talking about shaming people. I'm talking about encouraging weight loss. Body positivity, no. It's like, hey, if you like being fat, just realize this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And if you're okay with that, hey, you do you. But by saying that, no. Like, what was that Cosmo cover with the fat chick? Healthy at any size?
Yeah,
no.
that's not true.
You can't be healthy at any size. It's just not true. It is scientifically and factually incorrect. So you can be healthier than a skinny person who smokes, healthier than a skinny person who might have some comorbidities that are genetic. But at the end of the day, you are not healthy because you are significantly more unhealthy than if you weren't fat.
Yeah, well, it's the same people that are saying fat is healthy are saying that men can get pregnant. It's the same bullshit across the board.
Yeah, it just seems like the whole trust the science, right? And it seems like it all started in 2020. The pandemic started this crash course to stupidity. At first, it's like, well, trust the science, then the fake numbers and the masks. And then all of a sudden, men can get pregnant, women can be men. You have some weird stuff going on. Men are breastfeeding, not sure what's coming out of their nipples. Do you know what's coming out of those nipples?
No.
Now, I have seen guys who overdid tren, but I'm not sure if that's safe for consumption by a child. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. It just seems like, but then the left has become a cult.
Yeah.
And again, I'm a 90s Democrat. I haven't changed. Like, I'm pro-choice. Like, that's not a Republican.
Sure.
Definitely not. That right there rules me out of the Republican Party. But they've moved so far, they're a cult. It's like, today we're going to be pro-mask. And they're still wearing masks.
Yeah.
They had a video from San Francisco. Oh, this is a funny one. Did you see this? So San Francisco, because there's nothing going on in their city they have to concern themselves about, they voted that they are against what Israel's doing. They want to cease fire in the Middle East. Number one, you're a city in a state, in a country that's very far away.
Right.
Why are you voting on the war in the Middle East? You think Netanyahu's going to be like, I was going to bomb some shit today.
It does nothing.
But San Francisco says we shouldn't. But they have this video of these wackos. They all got colored hair. They're wearing the big masks that cover like their whole face, the biggest masks you'll ever see. And I'm like, these people are insane. But there's a lot of them.
Yeah, well, when you see somebody with a mask on right now, let's say you're at the airport or even go to the grocery store, do you think less of them?
Yes.
I do, man. I think like, maybe I should. Yes. But you can't. It's hard to not.
So you're either scared because you've been fed this nonsense, or you're just trying to show your other people that you're one of them.
Yeah.
It's. I can say this because I'm Jewish. It's kind of like the little tattoos they had on the forearms of Jews. My grandfather had one. My grandfather escaped Auschwitz. I can tell that joke. No, but it's not even a joke, but it's literally like it's the mark. It's literally like, here we are. This is me. I'm one of you.
Yeah.
I believe the science.
Right.
And
the science.
What I don't understand is masking for everyone. That never, it's like, well, no, this protects you and not me.
Yeah.
Cool. I don't care about you. Like, I don't care if you die. I just like, why can't I just, like, I'm American. America has always been about like doing your thing, like being you. Like, why if you're afraid of me breathing, you should stay home.
Yeah, man.
It's not on me to stay home. If you're afraid of air, by all means, stay home.
Yeah.
Or take better care of yourself. But the thing is, we get wiped out by anything. Like, there's 80,000 people in 2017 died from the flu. I almost got taken down by hand, foot, and mouth disease. 1 in a million adults can get it. I got it at Children's Museum. Couldn't walk for 5 days.
Oh, wow.
It sucked, man. So what I'm saying is, like, life is fragile.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing I hope we get from that is that life is delicate. It's fragile. It's precious. You could drive and your chance of driving and dying are very high. Heart disease, you see heart disease. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, man.
So, and it's a lot of it's genetic. You could just be jogging one day. There you go.
But let's just for the listeners to know a little bit about your background. You came from Los Angeles. You said 2006.
2006.
Professional bodybuilder, supplement company. Talk about how you kind of got into the fitness, let's call it industry, and or lifestyle that you live, and kind of the evolution of that, and then how it kind of brought us into 2020.
That's a kind of long story, but I'll make it as short as possible. So my parents were very unhealthy. My mom's an addict, in and out of mental hospitals and drug rehab. So she wasn't home a lot. It was kind of, after the age of 10, everything kind of fell apart. My dad died from complications of type 2 diabetes. So I've always been on this mission to help people with their health.
Yeah.
So it started out, and it still is, very altruistic in what I do as far as fitness is concerned. So by watching what happened to my parents and watching their choices just kill them, literally, it was something I did where I started out and I took a position during college. I actually finished school after getting the position with Weider Publications. At that time, Muscle and Fitness Flex, Muscle Fitness Hers, Men's Fitness magazines, they got purchased by American media, The Inquirer, The Star, Midnight Espanol, the tabloids. So they bought the company. I actually moved up the ladder real quick. Here's something I didn't say. I started that job when I was 19.
Oh, wow.
I was a teenager. So by the time I'm 22, I'm heading up a department and I'm working for this large company. And I was able to learn a lot. A lot of my clients were in the sport nutrition industry. Obviously, muscle fitness, flex. You had muscle tech at that time, EAS, AST, and all these were my clients. I was able to really learn a lot about their business, about what they did, and I became part of the industry. So long story short, in 2004, I started a company called Civation. Our main product was Extend, which is still the number one product in the intra-workout category. I don't get paid for it, so you don't have to buy it.
Yeah.
Or I'm not pitching it. But Extend created the intra-workout category, which is branched amino acids during training. So we launched that in 2004, and that's what they're known for. It's now owned by Cellucor. So sold that in 2011, started up MTS Nutrition, partnered with tigerfitness.com. So I became a part of that. And from that, we launched MTS Nutrition. 2018, launched the Outright Bar because my kids needed something to eat between soccer games. I had no intention of selling it, at least at this scale. And in 2015, along the way, we also started Ambrosia, which is a company I own with Sean Torbody and Mike Rashid, which we have the number one plant protein at the Vitamin Shop. And in 2022, we sold majority of that to a company named Brandless. But that's probably where I spend most of my time, is working and building that brand. We just got into Sprouts. So Ambrosia Planta is in Vitamin Shop, Sprouts, Hy-Vee, GNC. Like, we've completely been crushing it.
What do you think of the plant-based protein? Do you like it?
The way we do it, yes. It normally tastes disgusting because it's brown rice and pea, which isn't very easy to flavor. It's very bland, very chalky. And with the way we do it, with the way we use the mesh of the powders, we actually custom did this. And the flavor systems, we have a banana maple French toast. That's insane. And also the amino acid profile is inferior to whey protein, but it's mainly because the leucine, isoleucine, and valine, the branch chains. So what we do is we add in freeform branch chain aminos. So if you look at the amino acid profile, it's very close to that of whey protein. So I would say that ours is right up there, if not slightly less, but not that your body will notice.
Sure.
We also added in vitamins and minerals, a complex of that. So, because a lot of vegan diets are lacking in a lot of vitamins and minerals. So we were able to completely just crush that. So to get into Sprouts is very hard.
Yeah.
And that's something we're very proud of. Hy-Vee as well, which is a big grocery store, but it's been great. I mean, to take a product from conception and a brand from conception and then walk into Sprouts. And I don't know about you, but Sprouts to me was always like the natural grocer. It's the one.
Yeah.
So when it came to that, I'm like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of my proudest closes ever.
Yeah. So you're in the fitness industry, professional bodybuilder, but you're really an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I mean, that's your
I'm not a very good
profession.
bodybuilder. I mean, I got a pro card at 41 years old and I've competed in one pro show and I placed dead last.
Wow.
So bodybuilding for me, I love it. I love competing. When I took time off of bodybuilding, I boxed. For 7 years, I boxed.
Oh, nice.
2-0. But I need something competitive.
Yeah.
Business just doesn't, I don't perform well in business unless I have something competitive, something to work for. But, when people say, oh, you're a bodybuilder, like, I'll make a comment like, oh, what does a bodybuilder get to have an opinion on this? I'm like, well, just because I'm in shape and I compete doesn't mean I'm a bodybuilder. For me, bodybuilding is like the good bodybuilders, they do it full time.
Yeah.
The good guys. Kareth Bajo, he's a good friend of mine. Keon, those are guys who are just amazing. But they're full-time bodybuilders. They train people and stuff, but I might only get 2 hours of sleep a night if something comes up, if I have a project or whatever, if I'm traveling. I'm not going to be as good as those guys because I just can't dedicate the time.
Sure.
For me, this is weekend softball.
Yeah.
It's something I do before work every day, and I eat a certain way, and for me, it just makes me optimize my time better.
Yeah. So, but as an entrepreneur, where do you think you got that drive from? Because you've done some pretty big things, with these supplement companies. And as you were mentioning how hard it is to get into Sprouts, I had a clothing line for a long time. We're the largest supplier of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts uniforms in the world. Sold that in 2012. And, we made some deals with stores, but it's not easy.
It is so hard.
Yeah.
It is just their paperwork is insane. Thank God I have Nicole at home and at our home base who really helps me a lot. But I mean, sometimes I'm like, they have letters in there, that acronyms. I don't know what they mean. I have to like Google it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then, I'll be like, look, I have no idea what this means. Like I'll email them. But, I think that, as far as getting things into stores, it's hard. Like it is so difficult. Just the processes, getting up there and presenting the product. And the benefit for me is I'm a founder. So I know it better than anybody. So I'm not reading a script. I'm speaking from the heart.
Yeah. You know all about it. When did that deal come about with Sprouts?
So we just got in there. First day on shelf was December 26th.
Awesome.
So we went in there and it was like seeing it on the shelf and I've had some cool deals, like Hy-Vee's cool. But Sprouts is always like, I'm a shopper at Sprouts. Hy-Vee's in the Midwest. I only go there when I'm traveling. Hy-Vee's great because they got the best poke bowls and it's a grocery store. It's $7. Amazing. Nice. But anyway, it's, you go in there and it's like, kind of validates your life worth, right? When you see that, it's really cool just to see it on the shelf. How
did that deal come around and how long did it take you to do it?
We pitched them at Expo. So what they do is we went to Expo West and they're like, basically it's speed dating. Like, hey, sign up. And so I went there with Mike Rashid and Shantor Body, my partners, and we had a 15-minute pitch, had a printout, and we got through round 1, round 2, got through it. And there's only like 4 other plant pros. So to get in, think about it, there's probably thousands of brands. There's gotta be hundreds. We're one of like 5. For me, that's crazy.
Yeah.
And it shows the power of the product and the power of our messaging. So, I mean, we went in there and there's rounds and there's paperwork, then there's a distributor you have to go through. It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so just that deal alone is probably 200 man hours.
Yeah.
I mean, easy. So for me, that's more exciting than almost anything. Obviously my kids playing sports is more exciting, but that was awesome.
Where did the idea for the plant protein come about?
At the time, my business partner, Mike Rashid, he's a professional boxer. So he's getting ready for a fight. And we were just like, man, it would be great if we could supplement his diet because the guy's huge and he's a specimen. But you just can't get the protein you need from what was on the market. Not the quality we need, not something he'd actually want to drink. So that's why we really went hard on that. So Planta came out in, again, I think it was like 2017. And I mean, it was a grind getting it out there and getting people to try it. Because usually you think plant protein, you're like, ugh. But the thing about our market, we don't have specific data. I would venture to guess 75% of the buyers of Planta are not plant-based. They're meat eaters. They just really like the protein, or they want a variety of protein sources where they're not simply relying on animal proteins. I usually drink at least 1 a day, Planta.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting product. I know for a lot of the stuff we do in Mexico, I forget what plant-based protein or what we currently use for our cancer patients, but it's one of those things that is there's a giant need. And if you can get it to taste good.
Oh, it tastes so good. I have some samples in the car. But the thing is, with plant-based as well, there's a lot of people who are lactose intolerant, can't do dairy. So there's your option.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to have some weird tasting egg protein that makes you fart. You don't have to have the weird beef protein, which is just weird to me. Yeah. No. Here's just a good tasting dairy-free protein. It's going to give you high quality protein, tastes great.
Well, what other types of products do your company sell?
Oh, everything. You name it. From MTS nutrition, we have whey protein and creatine. We have basically every category covered, from testosterone boosters, fat burners. Ambrosia, we have Nectar, which is a liver and organ health product. Huh. Yeah, it's the best in class. Like for me, that works.
What does that one do?
So basically, all the support, there's 13 ingredients, all support your organs. So think about it like silymarin for liver, red yeast rice, things like that, but it tastes phenomenal, gives you adequate, you couldn't get this in a pill. It would take probably 7 or 8 pills, but it's a great tasting powder. And for me, I always had high bilirubin levels. Liver levels are always off. And since I was a teenager, since taking Nectar, I mean, I always post my blood work publicly because people always think bodybuilders are going to die tomorrow. So for me, it just has my levels perfect. And a lot of bodybuilders who strain their livers, it really helps them as well. But also for everyday health, all my kids take it.
Oh, nice.
Because it tastes good. They can drink it. It supports their organs and overall health.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's the one thing I travel with. If there's one supplement I'm going to take, it's ambrosia nectar.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, the liver it's an interesting organ because, I mean, in my opinion, it's probably the most important to keep healthy on a regular basis that people, completely, forget about. I mean, obviously we deal with a lot of cancer patients. And so, we look at a lot of liver enzymes, throughout. And are you familiar with coffee enemas?
I am. I've never had one.
Yep. Yeah. They're what we use for the liver.
Really?
So your blood pumps through your liver in a 15-minute coffee enema 5 times, so once every 3 minutes. And the coffee enemas actually open up the bile ducts and pump out the toxins.
I had no
idea. So it's a major toxin detox. And so the patients, depending on what diet our nutritionists have them on, but they do 3 to 5 a day.
Whoa.
So they're constantly flushing, that liver out.
So is that for someone who's sick?
Oh yeah.
So that's
very sick. There's something called Gerson therapy. Are you familiar? Have you heard of Gerson therapy?
I have not.
Interesting. Interesting thing about Gerson therapy is, I think just now science is kind of getting to a point where we have an idea maybe how it works. But there was a doctor named Max Gerson in the 1920s and 30s that came up with a diet of juicing, and he did it for his own migraine, and then he cured tuberculosis.
Cured tuberculosis.
Oh yes, came to America. Actually, Albert Schweitzer, who was a Nobel Prize winner,
I know Schweitzer.
Yeah, he said that Gerson was the biggest genius he ever met.
Really?
And he was from Germany. When he came to the United States, he's kind of blackballed. And his daughter actually in 1978, years after he died, opened the Gerson Hospital in Mexico. That's actually what we bought in 2015.
Really?
And so the new iteration of our hospital actually isn't going to have Gerson therapy on the website, and we'll do versions of it. But there's reasons for that I can get into a little bit. But Gerson therapy is 13 fresh pressed organic juices a day, 5 coffee enemas a day, plant-based diet. Our patients are doing 15 to 20 pounds of raw organic fruits and vegetables via pressed juice a day.
So you're big on the plant-based for those kind of things.
I mean, I am. This is what I was saying, though. Science is finally catching up. So nobody really knew how it worked. And I'm not attached to anything, by the way. I mean, yes, I think that there's some certain benefits to plant-based, but there's also benefits to eating meat. So, but pumping that many raw organic fruits and vegetables in the pressed juice and combined with the coffee enemas, it causes an immune response. So at about week 2, a patient gets really sick for a couple of days, 103, 104 fever. But when that fever's subsides after a couple of days, you'll see shrinkage in their tumors.
Well, the fevers are there for a reason.
Exactly.
I mean, the worst thing you do is get rid of a fever.
Yes. Well, and people look at, why do we have autism rates up? Why are cancer rates up? Why are autoimmune diseases up? Well, you think about, 100 years ago, they didn't have Tylenol. Every time you get a fever, you take a Tylenol to drop the temperature. But a fever has heat shock proteins. It's basically your immune system revving up to kill the bad stuff. Mm-hmm. And whenever we settle those fevers all the time, we might just be actually having another response of not, killing all the secondary viruses and bacteria that could be in the body.
But the doctors are like, oh, you got to just take this.
Yeah, just take this vial, take this pill, take this antibiotic.
There's a reason why we get sick, you get a fever.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
And I mean, if it's unbearable, I could see that. But I mean, I do think that we do over-medicate fevers.
110%. I mean, it gets really high.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, for the most part,
The fact that it takes your fever down, the mechanism of action kind of scares me.
Yeah, I don't know. What is the mechanism?
I have no idea, but think about it. You're literally killing your body's response to an invader. Because your body's like, let's burn this shit. Get it out of here, right? Your body's like, oh shit, we're sick. Let's get fever. Let's burn it out. And then we're just like, wait a second. When you calm that down, when you calm down the fever, it's going to make you sicker longer because your body's not able to fight it. But it's crazy how you could do it through an anti-inflammatory. Right. Or whatever Tylenol is, right?
Right. Yeah, it's anti-inflammatory.
Yeah, an anti-inflammatory. So, I mean, different pathways, obviously, between, ibuprofen and
Sure.
But it's just crazy how that works. And we've learned a lot about that in recent years through icing. Like icing's dead, yet they still do it. You go to any high school event and anybody gets any ouchie, they go to the ice. I think it's because they invest in the ice machines.
Right.
But they come out with the ice and they put it on right away.
Yes.
And I'm like, you really want to make this kid hurt for a longer period of time. It literally stunts the entire recovery process. I almost got in a fist fight when I was coaching at a soccer club in Illinois. This guy came out. I was the strength coach for Campton United. And it was, what's the name of the Athletico? You've seen them. They're at every event. They're the trainers, the physical therapists, right? So this kid gets an ouchie. One of my kids comes off the field and the cart comes over and I'm like, that's not a big deal. Let's just work it out. Little manual massage, right? It's his ankle. And he's like, oh, put this ice on. I'm like, get that away. He goes, no, I'm the doctor here. I said, well, I'm the guy who's bigger than you and I'm going to kick your ass. If you put ice anywhere near my players, we're fighting. By that time, he's making a stand. I'm literally about to hit him. And by that time, the club director came out and he's like, Mark, you can't do this. I'm like, when I met with these people and brought them on, they said, we don't believe in ice.
Yeah.
And these are contracted doctors, but they're all stupid. It's the problem is that if you have a doctor or a trainer that still recommends ice, they're stupid.
They don't get it.
They don't even read any current data. You know who Gary Reinl is?
No.
The book's called Ice. One of the guys who's my friend who I respect the most. This guy it's called Ice. So the guy who invented RICE, rest, ice, compression, elevation, in Gary's book, literally recanted his position and said you shouldn't ice.
Yeah.
The only reason the reason icing came about is during wars, because it wasn't for injuries.
Yeah.
It was when people got their arms severed to keep it from dying so they could put it back on.
Interesting.
Right? Like it was literally to reattach limbs.
Yeah.
It was to keep the limb from dying. So what's crazy is we're icing injuries.
Yeah.
When the best way to let it heal is to get it going.
Well, let the immune system go in there.
System. We do need to help, right? But the 99% of the time, there are issues where you obviously need different interventions.
Sure.
99% of the time, you help your body speed up its process.
Yes.
Whether it's stim units for increasing the blood flow and circulation, to whatever your body is designed to heal, not self-destruct.
Absolutely.
So why would you stop that process with ice? I will never get it. And to this day, every wrestling event I go to with my kids, the ice comes out.
Like why are you?
Every soccer game, the ice comes out. And I stopped. I used to try to educate people, unless I'm personally coaching the team. Like we did that when I was coaching my 10-year-old's football team. They're like, well, we'll ice it tonight. I said, stop. I sent them over all this literature and data. Like, oh, wow, I had no idea. I'm like, why aren't people talking about this?
Well, and what you're talking about is allowing the immune system to go in and do what it was designed to do. And, that's, going back to that diet, that's when I say we don't know how it works, I really don't. I see people that are like Gerson purists arguing or like, oh, it's happening. I'm like, you don't really know that. And I'm okay with not knowing.
Yeah.
But I do know that it creates an immune response in your body. It's not a diet like diets that you do. This is a diet that is an immunotherapy.
Yes.
That creates an immune response where you get a high fever. I mean, you have stuff pumping out of your pores that, like toxins for days. And when you have that fever, when the fever goes away, patients are generally a little better. And it's the same thing with autoimmune disease. I've seen it cure lupus.
Really?
My mom's rheumatoid arthritis, that combined with cholestoxins. That's actually why we bought the hospital. But, it creates an immune response. And, I don't find many people that actually talk about this like you are, but I'm totally aligned, actually. I think the Tylenols are actually bad. I think we should allow fever. I'm glad to see people are using saunas now. At high levels.
I was literally waiting for you.
Yeah.
I was like, you do use sauna in your clinic.
Oh, yeah. Well,
I have one in my house. I literally built a room for a sauna.
Yeah, no, I mean, I totally believe in it. We don't right now. We did a hyperthermia where we would put them in like a specific box, basically, that would heat up. We also had these back in the day, had these metal tubs that we'd put at like 112 degrees and create fevers in their body. That's actually where the original hyperthermia for cancer came from. But no, we are I would say the world's leading, clinic that actually puts to practice in fever therapy.
Wow.
So I'm a huge believer in it. Coley's toxins is the original cancer vaccine. So from 1891 to 1936, Dr. William Coley had a higher success rate treating many cancers than we do today. If you look in the textbooks, he's considered the father of immunotherapy. And now immunotherapy is kind of a buzzword for cancer, but he would put this combined dead bacteria that wouldn't replicate, but it would create a fever. So a person would get 104, 105 degree fever, and he would do that over a 6-week, 8-week period, and people's cancer would go away.
It makes sense.
So yeah, that was the idea behind it. But I was saying, like, with the Gerson therapy, kind of how where science is kind of moving is your gut microbiome plays such a big role in your immune system. Yes. So kind of one of the hypotheses that we have right now is somehow that Gerson therapy, you're pumping in all those juices, somehow it's completely changing the landscape of the gut microbiome and creating an immune response where your immune system can see the cancer.
Your stomach is your immune system.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and that's why I think you look at obesity and so on my worst day, I feel better. When I'm sick, have a stomach flu, which is rare, whatever, maybe I slept wrong, right? I feel better than those people do on their best days.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want anybody living that life.
Right.
So when you talk about microbiome, where I'm getting at is, I don't think people understand when you're obese, you're already inflamed. If you're eating the junk food it takes to get obese, mm-hmm. Nobody ever got fat off of chicken and rice. Mm-hmm. Nobody ever got fat off of chicken and potato. Nobody ever got fat off of chicken and broccoli. No one ever got fat eating too much broccoli. Okay?
That's right.
Your microbiome and your immune system and your body's inflammation, you're putting yourself at risk for cancer. Mm-hmm. You're putting yourself at risk for obviously diabetes, many metabolic disorders. And your quality of life it just has to be terrible. Like when you ask someone who's out of shape how they feel and they say good, they're lying. Or they just don't know what good is.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're talking about the chronic inflammation too. And people say, well, why wouldn't you want to take Tylenol for, or anti-inflammatories? There's a difference between chronic inflammation that's just above baseline to where you're constantly in this inflamed, achy, sick state. And, something like a fever, which is more acute inflammation that goes back to normal, kind of resets the immune system. But yeah, I agree with you completely. People don't know what it's like, to be healthy. And, the immune system starts in the gut. And do you have any gut microbiome products?
Yeah, Ambrosia Flora.
Okay.
It has a great blend. It's not just heavy on one probiotic, but it has a blend of a ton of them. So it's really good.
How do you make sure that those bacteria are still alive?
So, there's ways to do it with prebiotics in there, so you don't have to refrigerate it, because they just need something to eat. Mm-hmm. They need something to feed on. You can do that with prebiotics. So there are shelf stable, but we still don't try to keep them out there for longer than 24, 36 months.
Sure.
But yeah, there are shelf stable. If you don't have, basically you need something for it to feed on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have that, they're fine.
Yeah, they're living.
But generally speaking, if you don't see that in there, if they're not shelf stable, then yeah, they're going to degrade really quick.
Interesting. Yeah, I do more. I do something called BioK. It's like a little drink.
Yeah.
They're really good. And then I have a kefir, just a natural kefir because it's a broad spectrum.
Yeah. I'm a fan of kefir.
Yeah.
I drink a cup every morning.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I actually do. So I start my day with kefir because I've struggled with irritable bowel syndrome for years. I finally got it under control. Mm-hmm. Like 3 years ago, where it's not an issue. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I start every day with kefir.
Nice.
It's that one's more recent, like 6 months,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's, anytime you can't really overdo good organisms.
Right.
I'm sure you can, but it'd be really hard.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I had IBS too years ago, and I went to a local doctor. He's an MD, but very natural based. And that's actually where I learned about probiotics. And he got me a prescription at the compound pharmacy. It was like 200 billion a dose.
Oh my goodness.
And I took it for a couple weeks. And I remember the first time I took it, it was like a war going on. I'm like, and the stomach you could feel it like battling. That's what I thought in my head. Like it's battling the good bacteria versus the bad bacteria. And every day of my life, I had to leave with a Imodium AD. I couldn't leave home without it.
Mine.
Yeah.
I used
Me too.
just like my multivitamin, I would take an Imodium AD every morning.
Yeah.
2 of them, 5 milligrams, boom, done. I had to. And then I finally was able to wean off that in the last like 2-3 years, but it took a while to figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, 2 weeks for me of this, you can imagine, you've lived with it too. You know, it's not fun to have to leave with all that stuff. Like, oh shoot, if I don't have my Imodium, I'm screwed. You know, I'm going to be in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks, man, I was better.
For me, it's even worse because I have this clean butt thing where I have a travel bidet. It's like it's a travel. You fill up one thing with what you undo it, fill up one thing with water, put it. It's got a wand, but I have bidets in all my bathrooms.
Yeah.
I think it's just, I honestly think it's disgusting how we do not have bidets in every bathroom in America.
We're savages.
It is.
We're using this paper to wipe.
Butt. And it's not clean.
No.
Like if you had crap on your hand and you just wiped it off with a paper towel, would you eat food afterwards? I'm not saying I'm eating off my butt, but I'm saying that I want every part of me to be poop free. It's the nastiest thing that comes out of your body.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and let's bidet.
Yeah.
I can't believe when I went to Brazil the first time, I was like, they didn't have toilet paper and they just have bidets, at least where I went. Right. And so the guy was with one of my distributors for my company and he's like, I'm like, hey, he's in the next stall. He's like, what? I'm like, there's no toilet paper. He's like, and they don't have, it's not attached to a toilet. It's like next to your toilet. And it's got like this wand and you just spray your butthole off. And I'm like, what do I do? He's like, just spray your butt off. I'm like, but they didn't have anything. I need some toilet paper. I need to dry it.
Sure.
But yeah, when I came back, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So every toilet in my house has a bidet. I travel with a bidet. I usually take it with me.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm very, very picky about anal hygiene. Speaking of the coffee enemas, you know.
Oh, yeah, you know, we call it star butts.
So having IBS is the worst thing.
Yeah.
Is the worst thing for someone with a clean anus issue.
Yeah, I mean, hey, you know, it's like a curse from God.
It's a gift.
Yeah.
I never have skid marks. Makes laundry easy for my wife.
That's good. No, I got into the whole bidet thing in Puerto Rico. I lived there in 2019, and every bathroom in our house had one. You know, not like the one that you put on the toilet seat, but like, you know, a separate bidet. And I was like, this is life changing. This is life changing. And so, you know, here I had one in the main house, but we're doing the renovation, so I haven't put the electronic one, you know, over here. And the electronic one, the problem is it's like a laser beam. Yeah. So it doesn't like so you have to kind of move around to where it gets the whole area.
You have to kind of get a little twerk action.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. I just think it should be standardized. I think we need to start a movement, no pun intended, and just really get this bidet thing off the ground. I mean, it's a life-changing thing.
It is, man. We don't have to live like savages with paper anymore.
It's just crazy. Puerto Rico, I have a friend who moved there for the 4% flat tax.
Yeah, it's sad. We moved there. We brought a corporation there in 2019 and, you know, lived 6 months and, you know, a week there. You know, you had to be over there half the time and did the whole thing. I liked it, you know, but during COVID, they had some of the strictest lockdowns.
They were crazy
in the country. If you had an odd number or an even number, determined what days of the house you could leave to go to the grocery store.
That makes complete sense scientifically.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because, oh my goodness. Like, I look back and I'm like, oh my goodness. Like, I cannot believe what we did. Yeah. I can't believe anyone bought. And I'm sitting there. I'm the guy like, excuse me, guys. This doesn't make sense. But he's like, no. You're racist.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah.
I didn't understand. Like, it's like, wait, so because, yeah. And then the media is wild, bro. Like, hey, if you're not for lockdowns, it's because blacks and Mexicans are dying disproportionately than white people. So that means you're racist.
Yeah.
And you want blacks and Mexicans to die. They literally wrote an article. It's not that exact headline, but I'm not too far off.
Yes.
Like, I'm like, wow. If anybody takes any of the media seriously now, I mean, it is insane the stuff I read. Oh, and then exercise is right-wing nationalism, white supremacy.
Yes.
When yet, like, my most in shape friends are my black friends.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys are obviously white supremacists.
Right. They
Nobody
clearly
told you this.
Well, and that's what the media is doing. I mean, they have lost all credibility. And, you know, it's this whole post-modernist idea where there aren't absolute truths and that, you know, you have to question every societal norm that has ever come about. And, you know, I'm fine with questioning norms. But when you're arguing a norm that has been a tested fact for thousands of years, and you're making me a racist because I don't agree with your new definition of whatever, you say is now normal, that's when I know you're full of shit.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is you can't have an opinion like immigration. So a lot of people coming over the border are not Latinos. They're not Latin.
No.
They're Latinxes. They're not they're not of South American or Mexican descent. Mm-hmm. They're from Africa. Who's funding the flights? So if I even ask that, or even worse, they could be white nationalists from Germany. So I don't know. The thing is, we don't know who they are.
Right.
They're just pouring over the border. They're flying on planes with no names on their tickets. So if you even question that, it's crazy. I did an Instagram. I never do this on my Instagram, but I just shared this reel about immigration. We're not getting the best and brightest. If you try to go to another country like Australia, for example, it's a meritocracy. To get into Australia, it's meritocracy. Yet their argument is, well, who's going to do the cheap labor for below minimum wage? I'm like, how about we get citizens and we pay them minimum wage?
Sure.
Below minimum wage, that's your argument? You guys are fighting for a $20 minimum wage and your argument is no one will work for below minimum wage.
Yeah.
How about we stop human trafficking? How about we treat people like humans? A lot of people don't understand, a lot of stuff going on is not good. The human trafficking part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's bad.
Absolutely.
That's really bad. And it's causing more problems than we're solving.
Well, you look at that southern border, you have people from China, lots of people from Africa, people coming from all over the world, and they're flying into Mexico and they're crossing. And, to whereas if they were trying to get in legally, they could never come and even visit. The idea that, and there's been, I believe, 8 million people since Biden has been put in office. That's bigger than, that's 4 times the size of Nashville.
Yes.
Of illegal immigrants. We don't know who they are. We're basically being invaded. Now, since we say that.
By military age men.
I know.
These are not women and children. If you see, maybe the videos are off. I don't know. But if everything I've seen, these are military age men.
Yeah.
That's scary. And why are we doing this? Why are they allowing it? Why aren't we stopping it?
Why are they what do you think is going on? Why are they allowing all these military age men to come into our country from countries that are our known enemies?
Most young men are conservatives. I don't know this, but this is one of the reasons obviously I don't know anything I'm saying. But one of the hypotheses is that they're getting new voters. Mm-hmm. They already, dude, in New York, you are allowed to, in New York City at least, illegal immigrants can vote. And they don't even want IDs, so how do you even know who's voting?
Right.
So look at it this way. What was it, 75% of the next generation males, the high school age males, are conservative? What happens to the Democrat Party?
Yeah.
They're done.
Goes away.
They're done. I mean, so what are they doing? They're importing voters. Where I think it might be weird, if these are indeed Latinos, mm-hmm. or what is the proper, I don't want to be racist, but
Latinos, Latinas, Latinx.
People from Latin America, mm-hmm. South America, Central America, whatever. If they truly are, those are, historically Catholics. So that might actually work against them.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I have no explanation why we are letting in. So think of it this way, 8 million people. Well, and how do you know they're criminals? Well, let's say it's only 1%.
Yeah, 1%.
What's 1% of 8 million?
That's 80,000.
80,000 criminals. It's a numbers game. If you take a big group of people, what is it in New York? I think only 230 people commit all the crimes. Mm-hmm. They just keep letting them back out, right? So people are mostly good. Mm-hmm. I think we'll agree with that.
Yeah.
But there's bad apples.
Yeah.
So it's a numbers game. The more people you let in, the more criminals you let in. Because we can assume that for every 100 people, there's going to be X amount of bad people.
Yes.
So if we're letting in 8 million people, that's a lot of X's. And that's scary. That is just petrifying.
Well, and as you were just saying, we're letting them in, and then we're allowing them to vote in these cities they're going to without IDs. Where there is no good logical argument to allow that to happen. Anybody that's being intellectually honest will say that's complete bullshit. Yet somehow these virtue signaling leftists are like, it's a good thing. They should be able to vote. They're here. It's like, are you fucking crazy?
Or that black people can't figure out how to get IDs.
Oh, that's the other one.
I mean, that's a funny viral video where like, of course I know how to get an ID. What kind of shit is that? I just watched this. So let's assume they can't vote. Here's another problem. They give these leftist states more congressional seats because it's based on total population, not legal population.
I didn't know that.
So I think California has an extra like 3 seats or something because of that.
Interesting.
It's nuts. It's insane. So I look at it like it's obviously one party doing it, but why isn't the other party fighting it? So there's no real good guys in this battle.
Well, I do think that the Republicans are fighting it. It's just, how much can you do when the president doesn't want it? He's going to veto any legislation that you put in place. Right. It's largely his policy. He's the commander in chief. So if he wanted to shut down what's going on the border, he could probably do it pretty quickly if he got an iron fist and said, this is bad. This is a national security threat.
Obama did it.
Obama did it.
Obama did a great job.
And so did Trump. They both did.
Yeah. I mean, Trump, for all his faults, foreign policy was good. Like the Abraham Accords were amazing. He literally was working toward, look what happened. He gets out. We were literally on our way to peace in the Middle East.
Yeah.
Now we're back to war in the Middle East. Look, man, I'm pretty easy of who I'm going to vote for. Somebody who's against wars. Like what? No new wars. Trump had no new wars. That right there, I'm 90% going to vote for you. If Biden had no new wars, I can ignore a lot of stuff he's done.
Right.
But these people want wars.
That's all
We're
they
involved
want.
in stuff Ukraine. They're still insisting Ukraine's winning.
Yeah. Well, what was interesting about the whole Ukraine war? So when this thing first, started off, I remember watching different headlines and, Drudge Report used to be something that I would go to and read. I still read it probably every day, but I would go to it multiple times a day. And sometimes
click it for refresh.
Oh yeah. Sometimes probably 3 or 4 years ago, something happened. Like from reading that website every day, I can tell you Matt Drudge is not putting those headlines up anymore.
No.
That is not him.
He got bought. I believe they got purchased.
It's not public though. So you have another group running those headlines. Well, the headlines back a year ago for the Ukraine-Russia thing were all about Putin has cancer and the Russian army's almost folding and all of this propaganda. And I wish I would have screenshotted every time I saw that because it was such obvious propaganda.
Yeah.
And we've been fed so much bullshit from that war. I mean, it's all the Ukraine side and, they've done nothing wrong when the government is known to be a super corrupt government.
The most corrupt government. They've always been.
Yeah.
And so the thing about Ukraine, when you say Ukraine won, they're literally recruiting people 45 years and older and women.
Yeah.
Like they're drafting old folks, like guys older than us.
Yeah.
We're not military. I'm not military age. I'm 43. And women. Okay, so is that really winning? What we're doing is we're literally genociding an entire country.
Sure.
We're genociding older men. Like we have already genocided most of their fighting age men.
Yeah.
But nobody cares. Like, oh, a fight for Ukraine. I'm like, you just gave up half their population.
Yeah.
Who's winning? Is anybody really winning? Russia's lost. Russia seems to be doing okay. Their economy's crushing it. They've really forged a bond with China, which is the last thing we needed. Who's really, even if they are winning, like they have more territorial gains, how do you define winning?
Yeah.
I would say not dying is a real good form of winning.
I think it's a good gauge.
And the thing is, they had a treaty ready to go, but Boris Johnson flew over there, was like, nah, you guys can't have this treaty. You didn't read about that one?
I believe I read something, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, so basically the US and the UK were like, we can't have a treaty.
Why?
Because they wanted war. Tulsi Gabbard will tell you it's the war machine. And I have to take her seriously because she's literally in the military as we speak.
Yeah.
Like, and she's a former congresswoman.
I like her. What do you think of
She's
Tulsi?
Great.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's great till you find out what they're really going to do, right?
Sure.
She says the right things.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't like her gun control stance a lot, but I don't like 100% of what everyone stands for.
Sure.
So I can make a concession, like RFK Jr. I like some things he says, maybe about 10%, but what he said, what I agree with is enough for me to vote for him if I had to, because the things I agree with are important.
Yeah.
No new wars. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, no new wars.
But he's a big fan. I enjoy hearing him actually talk about capitalism, and those type of ideas. It's nice to hear a Democrat actually say, share the same belief in the country as I share. And that's always nice. You don't hear that now. Now you hear capitalism's bad. No, anybody that's an entrepreneur is bad, and they're just working off the backs of the poor, all this bullshit. And, RFK, at least his kind of vision of America, I can align with.
Well, because I've started businesses, hundreds of people have been employed, paid their mortgages, and bought cars. So if someone who works in the public sector for someone else can say that, they can't. I took a risk, became successful, and have employees who are doing really well right now and who've done well historically. So I love how they vilify business owners when they're the ones who are benefiting from it.
Yeah.
It's a trade. It's a service trade, right? I'm going to give you this amount of compensation. You're going to give me this service. You're going to work. That's it. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we all want to sing Kumbaya and be happy and love where we work. At the end of the day, I'm paying you to get something done. If I'm paying for a house, I expect you to build me a house.
Right.
Right. So I think we get it twisted. This employees' rights, I think, is pretty much squashed with capitalism. Because if you don't like your situation, at will employment,
Leave.
You can go.
Yeah.
And if your employer doesn't like you, they can fire you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of jobs out there. Thing is, everybody wants to have an office job, not do much, work from home, and make $200,000 a year.
Yeah, not going to happen.
That's not how it works. And minimum wage for fast food workers, here's the thing. Minimum wage jobs aren't meant to be careers. And if you need more money, either work hard at that job and get a promotion or get a second minimum wage job, which I've done before. I didn't always have stuff. So when I was broke, I wasn't thinking, wow, maybe I get some free money for being a Jew, which I think we should get. I thought we'd always get some K1s from Hollywood or something. I get invited to none of the good Jew stuff. Like when they canceled Kanye, I wasn't involved in those meetings. This Illuminati thing, they say we run stuff. I'm not invited. So people are like, people will be like, well, you guys own, like, no, they do. I just own protein bars, bro. I mean, I'm not in that mix. Yeah. But yeah, I think that when you look at what solves everything, it's freedom.
Yeah, absolutely.
Freedom to work where you want to work. It's a meritocracy. Guarantee you this. You work your ass off, you accomplish things. If you can make a company money, they're going to pay you money to make them more money than they pay you.
Absolutely.
It's a pretty simple proposition. Like my brother doesn't own a business. He works, he's a high level C-suite guy, right? Mm-hmm. He's not worried about job security as much because he's talented. Mm-hmm. And he knows and it's happened before where a company got bought and the new owners were like, we're going to different, whatever.
Sure.
But his resume is there.
Yeah.
And he can perform and he can interview. So if you want to be hired and make more money, take some night classes. Become a tradesman. They're getting paid.
I know, man. Become a plumber.
Yeah, dude, plumbers get paid.
They're crushing it.
Plumbers, electricians, they're in high demand.
Yep.
High demand. So the problem is everybody wants easy.
Yeah.
Everybody wants easy. And then they start a business and there's a reason why 94% of businesses fail because everybody thinks it's, I work for myself. That means I don't work much.
That's the wrong attitude if you want to become an entrepreneur.
And you're going to fail
Absolutely.
so badly. Dude, I was so bad. I destroyed my marriage. I'm like, she's still, I don't know why the hell she's still there. I destroyed my marriage. I missed my first two kids, like first steps, missed a lot of their childhood because I was busy growing my businesses.
Yeah.
And you know what? I don't know if there's another way to do it.
Yeah. I mean, Scott and Dedrick are my two partners up there.
Beautiful outfits.
We're all single guys. None of us got married. We're kind of, I'm settling down, now, but we talk about that, if we had families, we're not sure that we could have built what we built. We moved to Mexico, opened a hospital in Mexico, didn't have that background, lived in the hospital, worked, for 3 or 4 years, man, probably 7 days a week, maybe had 10 days off in a year. It was wild how much we worked, but it was making that sacrifice to have the possibility. It wasn't even a surety. It was a possibility of being successful.
Yeah.
And people now want to become entrepreneurs to work less. It's like, it does not work that way.
Dumbass. So the thing is, you would have been successful. I can't say your relationship would say the same because you're driven. I could tell sitting here, like, you're going to be like, got to go to work. For me, going to work every day is like suiting up and going to war.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, honey, I'll be back. Got to go win some wars.
Yeah.
Like, so every time I went on a business trip, I traveled 300 plus days a year, most of our marriage. Every time I went on a business trip, I would purposely not do anything fun because I'm like, this is a business trip. This is not a fun trip. I'll save that for when I'm with my family. So you would have been successful. Now, I can't say your marriage would have made it. For us to counseling took a lot of things, but here we are. And now, I'm going to be repairing our marriage for the rest of my life due to what I did in my 30s. Right. Yeah. But I'm here and we're one of the few companies, at least, I can say that right now, I'm pretty confident that I'm where I need to be where I need to be later in life. If that makes sense, as far as saving portfolio standpoint. But how many years did I not pay myself?
Oh man, well that's the other thing. Yeah, so you went unpaid too.
Oh God, it was great.
Yeah,
amazing. I had a per diem when I first started traveling for my first company, $50 a night for a hotel. Some of the hotels I stayed in were amazing. And I would, when I first started, I put extend our product. I loaded up a 2003 Toyota Corolla. That was my car. Loaded it up to the brim and drove store to store. That time we didn't have Google Maps.
Man.
We had MapQuest. So I used to print out, it took me like 2 weeks to print out my trip. And I'll call it ping pong. I go from store to store to store to store to store to store. And then when I got tired after about 2-3 weeks, I'd drive home. I was in North Carolina at the time. I'd end up in Pennsylvania. I'd end up in New York. I'd end up in New Jersey, the Midwest.
So which company is this?
Civation. This is my first company.
So Civation, you would literally, like a traveling salesman in a car,
every store.
Go to different, what type of stores?
Dude, nutrition stores, everything. I'd get cursed out by 19-year-old GNC clerks. It was awesome.
Oh, man.
If it had nutrition in the title, I'd go there. I'd go to gyms and I'd just be like, hey, you should try this. It's great. And it was hard to explain because, no one wants to hear about mTOR and all these cool little buzzwords scientifically. I'm like, well, what you do is drink it during your workout. There's no carbohydrate, but it gives you benefits, helps you build lean mass and lose fat. And they're like, oh, okay. And it's a new category. No one knew what it was.
And so what would you do? You'd walk in, you'd give them a pitch. Would you give them a bottle to try or what?
I'd hand them a full tub.
Okay.
And I'd be like, hey, I'm Marc Lobliner. I'm the owner of Civation. And here's our product. And sometimes they'd be like, well, this is freaking great. Bodybuilders caught onto it because all you had to do is say, oh, I'm dieting. I don't have carbs in this. But it was awkward. It was, I had to learn a lot about myself and I had to learn about rejection.
Yeah, man.
Even though I've been with my wife since high school, so I didn't have to deal with dating rejection. I dealt with a lot of rejection.
Yeah.
A lot of people like laughing at me and it was emasculating. It was humbling, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. I learned a lot about myself and being in a car for 15 hours a day alone. I still trained every day though.
Wow.
I'd find a gym and I'd be like, all right. I'd try to get a free pass because I didn't want to spend the money.
Yeah.
And, we do our best. Like we really, like my wife was there. Like she was working a lot at the time. So she was able to, that one was after her. That was after Cammie. So yeah, my daughter got neglected.
How long did you do the traveling thing?
To that extent?
Yeah.
2004 to 2010.
Oh, wow. 6 years.
6 years.
And on that grind. So, I've done something similar. So I have a mad amount of respect for that type of, it's hard to explain, but it builds a lot of character. As you were saying, you got some.
It felt when you got done with the day and you went to your shitty hotel room, you felt like you did something. You felt like your life had purpose.
Yeah.
Right. You felt defeated or you'd have a big win. Maybe a store would buy in. For me back then, $100 sale would make my week. I'd be like, yeah. Like now it's like, with Sprouts and stuff, you're like, those are big sales, right? But back then, man, you'd get like one sale and you're like, oh, then you get on, I had a, before like this one, it was just like, you're able to plug, I had this adapter where I'd plug into the cigarette lighter in the car, have my laptop. So I'd be posting on like forums. At that time, they didn't have Facebook and stuff. So it was like nutrition forums, like testosterone and bodybuilding.com had a great forum. And I used to blog at the time, like, because that was when I was just getting started bodybuilding, like oh, here's my training for the day. Here's what I ate. So it was like, I was constantly moving.
Yeah.
And I'd try to save money on food. So I just drank protein powder and ate tuna all day.
Yep.
It's great.
So 6 years of that, you know, at what point did you start making a little bit of money? And, you know, how did that play with your mind?
So I was very fortunate. When I worked for Weeder Publications, I made a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So I was given so they hired me 19 years old, junior rep.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically I start my career, I start my job and they give me like a $30,000 territory, but they gave me an open-ended commission.
Mm.
I didn't even know what my commission was. I couldn't read it. I was 19. I'm like, oh, cool. I was making $24,000 base, $24,000 in California.
Mm-hmm.
That literally does, even then,
right
in 99,
yeah, it was nothing.
Doesn't buy much.
Yeah.
So my wife and I are living in this, apartment in Thousand Oaks, California at the time. And I was hustling. Like I made sure I was there at 6 a.m. and I didn't leave till after the last person left, which sucks because my boss at the time was Hawaiian. So he'd get in at 11 a.m. and we'd leave at like 8 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
But I was there from 6 to 8.
Mm-hmm.
I was there all day. I'd find time I'd train I'd train where I can. I'm like, whatever, I'll figure it out. I'd literally go to the gym. If I was sleeping very little, so I'm crushing it. I'm selling. They're like, what, this kid's insane. And I got my first commission check. And I thought that they messed up.
Huh.
My wife calls me and she's like, are you sure you should check with them. So I remember I went into Lia's office. This is his name, Lia Clark. And I go, hey man, I think you messed up. He's like, no, that's right. I'm like, are you sure? It was literally more than my salary. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, cool. Paid off all my student loans. Just got everything taken care of. I've always been a saver. Mm-hmm. I'm not as you can tell, I'm not except for my shoes. I'm not a flashy guy,
sure.
Right? But like, I just paid everything off, got debt free. And so I was able at Weeder to make a stupid amount of money for my age. So when I started my business, my wife was working. So I was able to have a little bit of money to kind of take me through when I was making a lot less.
Yeah.
Or peanuts to what I would be.
Well, at what point did you see though that the business, your new business was starting to make money? And what was that? What was that like?
2009.
Oh, wow, so 5 years in.
2008, 2009.
So you've been grinding on the road for 5 years, 4 to 5 years, and you're not making money in that whole period.
Yeah, I mean, we started to grow, like, it was constantly growing, but you're talking like 50,000, 150,000, 200,000.
You're talking about a year. That was, yeah, okay. So,
then like 10 million.
Nice.
We had a tipping point that was just insane, where our main issue was stock.
Mm-hmm.
So once we hit that tipping point, we were able to really grow with it.
What was the tipping point for that?
I honestly think it was just a buildup of small wins. Mm-hmm. And then for some reason, everybody just bought it in the intra-workout category. Like everybody was just, this is it. I need to have my intra-workout nutrition. And I mean, we did really well at the time. We couldn't afford to sponsor real bodybuilders. Like, I don't mean this as an insult. So we weren't really having a natural bodybuilder.
Nice.
So we had all the best natural bodybuilders. And the thing about natural bodybuilders, they're taking supplements because they can't take steroids.
Sure.
So we became the biggest sponsor of natural bodybuilding.
Nice.
And we were able to really dominate that market. It just spilled over. And then Vitamin Shop picked it up. GNC picked it up. And it was off to the races. So it just kept growing and growing. It was, it almost seems like it happened overnight, but it didn't.
No.
It just was noticeable. Where
Yeah.
It's like, holy shit, we actually did something special here.
Yeah.
It was, it was a lot of work, but I don't think I really felt financial success till, not success, but comfort till like a year and a half, 2 years ago. When I'm like, you know what? I'm actually not as stressed. I'm still stressed because I have kids, but I'm not as stressed. And that was recent.
What do you think that that aha moment or change was? To
be less stressed? I think having the partners with Ambrosia, I think was really where I was like, because they're good people, and I love working with them, and I just love it. And it was where it's like, okay, you know what? If we did something special here, we're still a part of it. We can make it even more special because now we can fill POs that are a lot of money. Like if you think about it this way, say Walmart plays a PO. They have, they own 40% of basically every category. So from protein to shoes to clothing to salt, they own like 40% of every single grocery category. So Walmart plays a PO. Say $1 million. Okay. So you have to have enough to fill that.
Yeah.
Let's say you're operating on a modest margin. So you need $400,000 to fill that PO. Well, then you have to have more to sell to the rest. So you're in, if Walmart plays a PO, you need $2 million right there. I'm just making numbers up.
Sure.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
$2 million in cash flow. Oh, and by the way, they don't pay immediately. They're paying you in 60 days. They've gotten a lot better, I've heard, but let's say 90 days. So you're fronting $2 million, which even $100 million companies sometimes don't have $2 million of free cash. You're going to float $2 million out there. So with having partners, we can actually fill the Sprouts orders without, having to figure out a way to rob from Peter to pay Paul. So it was that kind of less, I think cash flow was the main relief.
No, especially in that business where you got a product and it's always a cash flow game.
Always.
I mean, that's when I have my clothing line,
clothing's a nightmare. There's so many sizes and SKUs. So I own an apparel printing company.
Yeah.
We do it for other people, but even when we do our own stuff, like for Ambrosia, for gift with purchases, we only do large and extra large now. People don't understand, like when you make a shirt, you need like 6 sizes and the big ones cost double.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, we were manufacturing overseas in Pakistan and China.
Yep, that's what we do.
So, we would be sold out, and then, it's coming, and 60 days, 90 days, we're out of stock. And, I was in my 20s when I had that. So not a whole lot of business experience, just kind of figuring it out. It was me and my mom. And, we built it up. We were the largest, like I said, supplier of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu martial arts uniforms in the world. But there was a lot of trial and error. And the biggest hurdle was cash flow, as you were just saying.
Always.
I mean, it was just brutal because, it's just, then I got to place another order. And, they gave us terms, but they weren't great terms. By the time the product would come in sometimes, and it was really hard to really get ahead with how much we grew.
Yeah. And even with our new partners, like we have very strict parameters. So we have to have business cases and there's not unlimited funds. So we still have, it's actually, and I've learned a lot. Like I've never scaled a company over $50 million. I haven't. That sounds really first world, but like, it's really cool to have the opportunity to try and scale to that level and to work with people. Like one of our guys is CEO's from Goldman Sachs. Like, how much I can learn from that guy?
Absolutely.
He's from Goldman Sachs. Like apparently they own the world.
Yeah, definitely.
If you read Twitter, they do some really crazy stuff over there.
Yeah.
Twitter's mad. I love Twitter.
I'm not on officially. Yeah, X.
Oh, no. If you don't do it, because it will consume your life. You'll wake up in the morning. I wonder what's going on X.
Right.
Oh, and then Elon bought it. It went wild.
Elon's so good.
I can't get enough.
Are you? Do you follow Bill Ackman?
I've seen his stuff on the recent MIT stuff.
It's so good. Yeah. So I'm not officially on there. Like I don't post, but I'll go read.
You have to follow Ackman stuff lately.
Oh gosh, it's so good. So Business Insider just went after his wife.
Yep.
And so his wife is this brilliant, PhD from MIT. She was a professor, and they wrote this story about her plagiarizing, and that she plagiarized her her college thesis or her PhD thesis. But the reality was she missed a couple quotes. Plagiarizing, they need to really tighten up that definition because it sounds like you're stealing, but she didn't do anything that was unethical. Plagiarism to me sounds unethical. What she did was not unethical, and it was like a couple mistakes. But boy, Bill Ackman's going at him. He's just sliced, and I hope he plays the long play with Business Insider. They're a bunch of pieces of shit, like what they've done to Elon Musk, how they just go after people and try to ruin their lives. So that's been my Twitter fun.
What's really crazy is the periodicals I used to subscribe to. Financial Times. Have you seen their Instagram? It's the most woke bullshit you'll ever read in your life. Business Insider, huge fan of that publication. I wrote for Forbes. It was one of the coolest things in my life. I have an article in Forbes. Now I read these things, and Forbes is the guy. Like flat tax, and I'm like, what are you guys doing?
Yeah.
It's it's really hard to see the people you thought would just be based on facts and numbers. And I'm not sure what's control, but it's not helping their market. Like the market for people like us is bigger because if you look at like the demographics of America and how people vote and think, it's not that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you even read like Financial Times, their Instagram, the comments, they're like, what the hell happened here? I don't know if it's to get more clicks. I don't know what it is, but it's really like, why does the Financial Times have an article on climate change?
Yeah, that's a very good question.
You're the Financial Times.
They're getting their DEI score up somehow.
Is that a thing? Like, is that a thing? Because I want one.
Yeah. How
do I get scored?
Yeah, well, we would be failing.
Oh God, yeah.
We would fail our DEI
I would
test.
I would get a solid F.
Yeah.
No, I do like watching Mark Cuban. I used to get made fun of for doing Mark Cuban quotes on my Instagram. And after he literally sent people to restaurants to narc them out during COVID.
I didn't know he did that.
Oh, he's the worst. He is trash.
What?
Like Mark Cuban has become such a piece of trash.
He's a wokie.
But why? He's literally him. Like Mark Cuban, like I used to say, the two CEOs I most closely follow,
Mm-hmm.
Dana White,
Yeah.
yep, and Mark Cuban. I used to have fucking pictures of those guys on my phone, like their quotes, the memes where it's like crazy. I love those guys. And I still obviously, love Dana White.
Sure.
But I mean, dude, it's like all my childhood heroes, except for Kirby Puckett, have fallen by the wayside.
Yeah.
And Kirby's dead. So,
yeah, no, I mean, Mark Cuban, he got involved in this DEI stuff with Ackman too. Like he's been throwing some posts out. I've liked a lot of what he's done over the years, and obviously, I mean, it's fine that people have different views. But to me, when I read what Cuban's saying right now on it, he's completely missing
it's
the
not
bigger
DEI.
point.
He's saying how it should be.
Yes.
Like I agree with everything he's saying.
Exactly.
But hey, you know what? We shouldn't just hire white people. Yes.
Yeah, no shit. Exactly.
Yes. Have you seen I just want you to look at Ambrosia's like Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
It's _Ambrosia_collective. I might be the only white guy there. Okay, I'm Jewish. I don't know if I can. Am I white? Are Jews white? I'm so confused.
Hey, it's whatever you identify as.
Yeah, unless my nose gives it away, But no, I mean, I'm obviously a fan of diversity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We talked earlier, like we grew up in diverse areas.
Yeah.
Right. Like I love diversity. That's one reason I love public schools.
Yeah.
It's
Same.
diverse. Right.
Same.
But he's saying exactly the right things, but that's not DEI.
Right.
That's called being a good human being.
Yep.
Not just hiring people who look like you and not having an echo chamber.
Yep.
And I just don't think he knows what he's talking about.
No, he doesn't. He doesn't know. Like, and that is, I wonder if Ackman was like that before the Harvard stuff. When he went after Claudine Gay, because a lot of these guys who I respect, when I hear them talk, it's like they're missing what's going on. They don't get it. And, so you saw Ackman, of course, I love what he's been doing. But when I read Mark Cuban, I'm like, just like you just said, I agree with everything you just said. But that's not the world we live in. And of course, you should want those things. But they're pushing this agenda across the board in our schools, in the different companies, and they're using it to divide people. They're using it in a racist way. They're not using it like that. And that seemed to go over Cuban's head.
Yeah, it seems like common sense things. Like, for example, my buddy Sharon, the offensive coordinator for Michigan, Sharon Moore. There was a controversy 2 weeks ago because they asked, the quarterback for Alabama, they were saying, hey, he should probably move positions. He's such a good athlete. Mm-hmm. So one reporter asked the dumbest question ever. The reporter asked, hey, do you think they're saying he should move to a different position because he's black?
Oh my gosh, shut up.
So Sharon's a good man, like one of the best people you'll ever meet in your life. Good, quality individual. Mm-hmm. Somebody that nobody would ever dislike. Mm-hmm. The nicest guy you'll ever meet. A man who loves his family, So he goes, hey, you know what? I would have been like, see, he's a better man than me because I'm like, bitch, are you crazy? Yeah. Why would you even ask me that?
Yeah.
So he goes, look, he's like, I just don't see race. He's like, my wife's Caucasian. My kids are mixed race. He's like, I just judge people how they are. And he's a great athlete. Done.
Mm-hmm.
And then Twitter blew up because they're like, oh, this is what's the problem. This is why there's racism. So wait a second. I would think that'd be the safe answer.
Yeah.
The safe answer used to be, I just don't see race. I just don't see it. Now, if you're not actively racist, you're racist.
Yes.
But he truly loves people for them, their character, and if you look at like his big claim was when he beat Penn State after the suspension of Harbaugh, he cried after the game.
Mm-hmm.
So that was his big thing. That's anybody who cries out of emotion from winning a football game. That's a very good guy.
Yeah.
I'm
right.
sorry. Like that's a guy who's on another level of confidence and just masculinity where he's, I'm joyous in what my team did. I'm so proud of them. It's a big moment for me, big moment for them. And to drag him for not being racist because he's not racist or racist, it's just so confusing now.
Yeah. Well, you think about, Martin Luther King used to talk about a colorblind society.
Yes.
And that used to be what I thought we all aspired to live in. That was the goal.
Yeah.
And, now if you say you want to live in a colorblind society, you're considered a racist.
The left is segregating. On college campuses, they have black areas, white areas, no whites allowed areas. I would walk right into that area and be like, kick me out. I will sue every single one of you.
Yeah.
That's my Jewish side. I only see race if it's funny.
Yeah.
The Jewish jokes, that's one thing we have.
Well, I mean, it's gotten to a point where, as you were talking about, you like public school diversity, those type of things. Same exact thing. It's 2020 after the George Floyd
peaceful protests.
Yeah. Well, after all that happened, and race was put so front and center. And Dedrick, the guy on the left there, black business partner, and I'm walking down the street with Dedrick. And I said, damn. I said, I was describing him. I was like, I didn't ever see you as black. And now I'm seeing you as black. I'm like, I'm kind of disappointed because I just looked at him as Dedrick, my brother, not my black brother.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like they're putting those ideas in our brains and confusing a lot of younger people into thinking that if we don't think like that, if we actually aren't racist and we actually do look at things from a colorblind perspective, that, we're bad people.
I interact with kids every day. They're not racist. They have great sense of humor about racism. Like sports will always be funny and racist. Like if you're around a high school sports team, they're making fun of each other for everything they can find.
Mm-hmm.
And that's good. Because when I played football, guarantee you this, everybody was dogging on everybody.
Right.
All right. So that's fine. But when I'm around these kids, they don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least the ones I'm around, maybe it's Williamson County, maybe I'm in a bubble, but for something that you would think, I don't see any of what you would typically associate with the South.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Right.
If you look at kids hanging out, just go drive down the street in Franklin, see kids hanging out. They're generally diverse.
Yeah.
You rarely see a group of white kids or a group of black kids. You'll see an Indian kid, a white kid, a black kid. You'll see a great diverse mix because I don't think this new generation is buying into this.
Well, see, I do wonder if it's Williamson County though, man.
Well, then I'm glad I live there.
Because, for sure. I mean, and I'm not involved with kids sports or anything, so I'm not around it. But just from what I see in the world, it doesn't seem like, especially inner cities, it doesn't seem like that level of getting along and call it colorblind view is the norm. And I hope I'm wrong, actually.
I hope there's more places because I'm also, I'm business in Mason, Ohio, and that's a suburb of Cincinnati. Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I see people coexisting and not giving a fuck.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beautiful thing, is that you just don't see it like that. You're my friend.
Yeah.
You're a good person. Yeah. Not, hey, you're my favorite black guy.
Right.
You're my favorite white guy. It's like, wait a second, so I think we're in a good place. I do think we're better. We're better than we've ever been. Like, think about it. Like in the night, like just 100 years ago, like things kind of really sucked. Like, like people went through hardships 100 years ago, dude. You're looking at right before the Depression, World War I.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was a terrible time. So, I mean, Spanish flu too.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Spanish flu just ended. Yeah.
Yeah. That was 100 years. That was almost 100 years exactly to COVID.
Yeah. Well, and you think about, you think about with COVID, we had the most divisive president, at least in our lifetime. I had always told my family and Scott and Dedrick, I'm like, there's no way they're ever going to let Trump be reelected. There's no way. He's causing way too many problems. The economy's going to crash. There's just no way. Too much, too divisive. Mm-hmm. And January of 2020, I remember we were having coffee, Scott, Dedrick, and I. And I'm like, well, guys, it looks like I was wrong. Economy's still going good. Yeah. I think we're going to be wrong. And then you get this virus that pops up. March 2020, they shut everything down. It had been lingering for a while. But, what are the odds that you have a once-in-a-lifetime virus that was released during the presidential election year of the most controversial president in our lifetime, and that keeps him from being president? What are the odds?
Total coincidence.
Right.
So that makes me think, what's going to happen in 2024? You already had the Jew tunnels in New York. Did you see those?
I saw this morning. What is going on? What is that?
What? I don't know, but I really think, again, I wasn't invited. And
is it real?
It apparently is. Like, did you see them riot? Like, Jews are not good at rioting. We need to leave that to other people. It's the most unintimidating riot. You got a bunch of dudes in hats with big curls on the side of their head.
Right. Wow.
And suits. Like, it wasn't a riot. It was a bunch of kvetching. Is what it was.
Wow.
It was nuts. Like, they had these tunnels. So one story is it was so they can be left alone and pray during COVID. Mm-hmm. But then they brought out these mattresses, which were like stained and like these other, like a baby, like a baby stroller or something.
Oh.
So now they're like, all the Jews are pedophiles.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know if I got that from, I just think it's underground. It's half dirty.
Yeah.
There's a mattress, but like if you took a white mattress and dragged it through dirt.
Yeah, it's going to be dirty.
Dirt spots, and you could have spilled something on it. I'm not going straight to pedophilia, but hey, that's just me. But I'm like, this is weird. Like, who'd have thought you'd have there were like Jews crawling out of tunnels. It was crazy.
Yeah, I thought that was a joke. I really did.
It really happened. 2024 is wild.
Well, yeah, who knows what they're going to do? Do you think that they're going to let Trump be reelected?
Well, I mean, here's the thing though, like people don't vote. Like, so conservatives always complain the election was rigged and they did ballot harvest, but it's legal. They just Democrats just try harder. They followed all the rules. They just changed them, obviously with the mail-in ballots, which I think you should have to show up and vote.
I do too, man.
I think we should have paper ballots. Why? Okay. Here's when I knew it was messed up. Where they're like, well, the machine and the algorithm, like, why is there an algorithm in the machine? Shouldn't it be simple addition? 1 vote, 2 vote, 3 vote. What algorithm? Like right. What algorithm? They literally said algorithm in the voting machines. So Greg Abbott, a lot of these, and Whitmer up in Michigan, every single lockdown governor got reelected. Right? We can't get enough people out in a primary or a main election we have no room to talk. Like, we don't vote enough. That's the problem. People always complain, but nobody actually votes.
So but do you think that they're going to let him?
Well, the Supreme Court's going to put him back on Colorado. The New York thing is kind of like whatever. The Supreme Court's what's going to save it. Yeah. He'll be on the ballot, I think.
Yeah.
But one hypothesis that we just won't have an election. They're going to find a way to just get rid of the election.
That would be wild.
Then you have a civil war. That's when I think people will lose it.
Yeah. Well, the question I have to it is, I would have thought we would have lost it during COVID, and people,
you're right.
People really were they laid down.
Life is too easy.
Just laid down. Like, no, I think you should wear your mask and, just.
I didn't lay down. I didn't get much. My wife didn't wear a mask at the zoo once. Some Karen came and yelled at her about.
Oh my God. Outside.
And here's the kicker. My wife can't wear masks. She had a growth in her sinus and a mask would literally kill her.
Oh, wow.
It would definitely raise her risk of death because of bacterial infection.
Yeah.
She has to take an antibiotic year round.
Oh my God.
She has to rinse her nose daily.
Wow.
So she had a grape-size mass fungus in her sphenoid sinus.
Oh my God.
So this woman came up, started yelling at her. My wife's like, look, I literally can't wear one. And just going, it was just like, these people were nuts.
Yeah.
One guy one time in Costco, before Costco became, I wouldn't wear a mask. They give me the face shield.
Oh yeah.
Because I need chicken. But I wouldn't wear a mask. I refuse to wear a mask. So I remember one time I had like one around my chin before he's like, this guy walks by me. He's probably like 10 yards from me. Turns out I said, pull up your mask. I said, you were right here. You couldn't say that to my face.
Oh yeah.
I was ready to fight, but I was like ready to fight. Like I'd walk by.
Me too, man.
Dude, Metro Nashville, they were assholes too.
Oh yeah.
I'm walking down the street. He's like, pull up your mask. I'm like, arrest me. And then I'm like, I'll someone film it and it'll help my career. Let's go.
They wanted you to wear a mask outside?
Outside, walking down Broadway.
What? Oh, wow.
Oh, they were terrible.
Is that what it was? This is how bad, like it's been 3 years and I forgot how bad it was. Yeah, you had to have a mask on outside, didn't you?
Broadway.
Oh my gosh.
But the problem is the cops. I'm just doing my job. You know, as someone who lost his entire family to the Holocaust, my grandfather escaped Auschwitz, who lost a majority of my family to the Holocaust, which some people don't think existed. I'm like, I don't know, maybe it did. And I always wondered, I'm like, how did that ever happen? How did people ever go along with something so stupid? Then 2020 happened and people were literally wishing me death for not wanting to take an experimental therapy and not wanting to put a cloth over my face.
Yeah.
Every single Karen, every single Fauci-like person who'd come up to you and who'd yell at you for not wearing a mask, who'd yell at you and say you don't deserve medical treatment because you won't get an experimental therapy.
Yeah.
They are Nazis.
Yeah.
They do have Nazi-like tendencies. It's not the same. No, it is the same because both of them were wrong. Both of them didn't make sense. Is one more extreme than the other? Maybe.
Right.
Some people argue about the experimental therapy.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about what they did, first they said if you got the vaccine, you weren't going to get COVID, 100% safe and effective.
100%.
Then they said, if you got the vaccine, you weren't going to spread COVID. Then they said, if you got the vaccine, you weren't going to die of COVID. All of those were proven wrong. And every single time that they were proven wrong, it wasn't like the people that were all pro-vaccine before were like, hey, you know what? Sorry, we were wrong about that.
No.
It was like, but
it still saved X, and they'll go off some correlative data.
Yeah, it's just like, but you were saying that this was a pandemic of the vaccinated. It was never a pandemic of the vaccinated. That was all bullshit. And you used that to get people fired, to make people, lose their job, lose their careers, not go to church, not be with their families, allow people to die alone. You think about, we had about 1 million people die with nobody by their side. And talk about cruelty. People need to look in the mirror and realize they were the cruel ones if they were supporting this narrative. Because, we all had family and friends that died by themselves in the hospital.
I don't forgive and I don't forget. They do not deserve forgiveness.
Yeah.
For what they did. They don't deserve it. You know, Newsom, that idiot in California, you know, he knew the fact they were out congregating and eating out and going on vacation.
It's just such bullshit.
They knew they were lying.
Yeah.
Like they weren't like, I can understand if someone's scared. Like, you know who I think was legit? DeWine in Ohio. He had some crazy lockdowns. The gyms were actually open because the gym sued and won.
Oh, nice.
Wisconsin, same thing. DeWine is a feeble old man.
Yeah.
He was scared. You never saw that man without a mask on. So he doesn't get a pass.
Yeah, but you can understand.
But I understand. But Newsom, Whitmer. But you don't have to wear a mask or worry about anything if you're rioting.
Right.
I'm sorry, peacefully protesting. Because racism was the bigger pandemic than COVID. Remember that? That was one of their things. Oh, well, racism's way more of a pandemic than COVID. Like, no, it isn't. Nobody even talked about racism. You had one cop do what the department told him to do as a move, by the way. Literally in their handbook, what he did was how to subdue a person. That was crazy. That was crazy. And it's like, well, he was wrong. Well, you're at fault.
Right.
You trained him to do it like this.
Yeah, no, it was wrong.
And then the autopsy came out and it wasn't asphyxiation.
Yeah, it was a fentanyl overdose.
Yeah. So look, dude, would I have done the same thing as a cop?
No.
Am I you already can tell I'm a police supporter of the right departments.
Sure.
City cops, generally not the best people. You go to Franklin or Brentwood, amazing. Support the hell out of those cops. But generally speaking, if you look at a big department, I have some friends on NYPD but they can't talk.
Sure.
They agree with us.
Yeah.
But again, would they, and I don't want to offend my friends, if it came down to their job or putting us in jail or shooting us or whatever, I'm not sure what they would choose.
Well, I think, I can think about Metro Nashville. I was born and raised here. There's a lot of cops that would not. They were like, fuck the pandemic and screw these laws. I mean, they're like, they're kind of making a stink. We know this is stupid. Right now, we got to have people wear their masks, but, they're not going to push it too far. In a city like Nashville, you have a lot of locals, a lot of local cops. It was just a big town 10 years ago, basically.
Yep.
And I think we still have some good ones, kind of like you're talking about the surrounding areas are pretty good.
Awesome.
But, it is frustrating. I don't like when anybody abuses their power.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing. I don't like when they do it to anybody. I didn't like when, gay people were picked on 20 years ago like they were.
No, of course not.
I mean, I hated that shit. I'm like, why? I've always tried to stand up to the bully and and now the bullies just happen to be those same gay people.
Which is weird. I just don't see the need to talk about who we have sex with. I'm crazy like that. But when I walked in here, I'm like, by the way, I have sex with my wife. And she's a woman. And we don't do it often because we're married.
Right.
But we do have sex. So I have sex with women. I just don't care who people have sex with. Mm-hmm. If you're like, how do you say this? If you have what many would perceive as gay tendencies,
mm-hmm.
like being a little more feminine than most men. But I've known a lot of really straight guys
mm-hmm.
who you would guess are gay.
Sure.
I've known a ton of really, really straight, bagging girls, dude. I'm talking gangster pimps who you'd be like, that dude's gay. Yeah. He's not. So I don't just be gay.
Sure.
I don't care. I don't think anybody cares. Yeah. Nobody's like, ugh, you're gay. We're like, all right, I just don't want to see pictures.
Right.
That's it. Nobody cares. I really don't care. And if you're just, and again, I was just talking about this today. It's the problem is with the transgender thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Misgendering. I still say yes, sir, no, sir. And the thing is, if you look a certain way, I'm going to be polite and say that. But if you're like, hey, I'm this, I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
Done. Right. Now, misgendering should not be an issue if you're confident that you're that gender. Sure. If someone comes to me and says, hi, ma'am, I'd be like, that's awesome. Thank you, bro. Have a good day. Because I know I'm a man.
Right.
I'm confident that I have a penis or I identify as a man and I so I'm like, cool, that's great.
So you wouldn't be offended if you were misgendered?
Not at all. I think it's hilarious. Or if someone was like, nothing really offends me anyway. But yeah, misgendering would definitely not offend. Or someone called me gay. Mm-hmm. Bro, you're gay. I'm like, okay.
Right.
That wouldn't offend me. So if you're if you're confident that you're a chick or a dude, and you're not a chick or a dude, then you're not confident that you're a chick or a dude.
Right.
Because if you are it hurt me so bad. I was misgendered. Misgender me back.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go out of my way to hurt somebody's feelings.
Yeah.
I was at a grocery store we do business with, and I actually really like this. A lot of people think it's silly. On the name tag, if you do go by pronouns, mm-hmm. it said he, him. Mm. It was not a he, him. Mm-hmm. My best guesstimation, that was a she, her, who identified as a he, him. But I was like, I'm not going to go out of my way to say, hey, bro.
Right.
No, actually, hey, bro, hey, sis.
Hey, yeah.
What's up, girl?
Yeah.
No. I was like, hey, how you doing? Great. Awesome. Have a good day. Thank you so much.
Sure.
So I don't think anybody's going to go out. There are some people who suck, but most people just want to be nice.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And I will call a biological male who identifies as a woman. I don't mind saying her or she.
No,
it doesn't bother me
whatever you want
at all. Now, see, I don't like that shit on the name tags where it has the pronouns.
Because
I'm like,
that one helped me though.
Yeah, no, that's good. It helped you. But my thing is, it's like they're forcing this language on us.
Unless you don't force it, right? Like,
Sure.
is it optional? They don't force everybody to have it.
Okay. Well, that's
so like not every, because I refuse to do it.
Okay, good. So if you don't believe you should have, because I don't want pronouns next to my name.
No. So like Instagram, it's optional. Mm-hmm. You can put he, him, or she, her. And I actually was making fun of someone I didn't know it was there. Oops, my bad. I'm like, so you're she, him, or whatever.
Yeah.
And so
she, him is kind of confusing.
Yeah. Again, like Eddie Murphy was so far behind, like ahead of his time. Remember we got caught with the they called them, remember back in the day, they called them trannies. That was a word that we're not allowed to use anymore.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think so. So Eddie Murphy was caught with a transsexual, and it was like a big deal. And people were like, dude, like even the news was like, hey, Eddie Murphy caught with a tranny. You know? Now we can't say it, dude. But again, I have no issues with you do you.
Oh,
We only live once, right?
Absolutely.
If you want to live that as a woman, do it. Just, don't. I don't think we should be chopping off anything before you're an adult.
What about biological men that identify as women with their penises flopping around the women's locker room?
That's wrong.
Okay, I agree.
I am firmly against men and women's sports spaces or spaces in general. There's a reason. Look, Title IX, they're using that against women now. It's freaking crazy. So up until like 2 months ago, my daughter was vying for scholarship. I would hate for her to lose it to a man. And also women will get injured badly. Mm-hmm. Again, the Q angle of the hip, 17 to 19 degree difference. You have a man who's bigger, stronger, faster, runs into that knee. You're going to have girls just falling down, injured, dead, broken. You've already had the soccer player who broke a girl's face, volleyball player broke a girl's face. They break a lot of faces. Yeah. So at the end of the day, men are just better at stuff. And if you notice it's disproportionate, well, there's not that many. Well, there's not that many doing it.
Right.
But Connecticut, tons of girls left out of scholarship contention because they couldn't place because 2 dudes were ahead of them. And if they spoke up, they got canceled. And again, the reason this is happening because men won't speak up.
Yeah, well, Times Woman of the Year was a man.
Again.
And what this proves, though, is that men really are the best women.
Even better at being women than women. I just look, I have a daughter. She can fend for herself. And I can always say that, I'll take my daughter in a lot of things versus a dude. But like, look at Leah Thomas.
Oh my God.
First of all, what a huge cock on that chick. Have you seen the bulge under that swim trunk?
Yes.
Leah Thomas is packing. Dude's got like a 7-incher. I'm not playing. Like, I can't stop looking.
I think the girls in the locker room that saw it flopping around said it was really big too.
Because I would be making fun of a small penis. Like, yeah, dude comes in with a small. When a girl sees a penis and doesn't call it small, he's at least above average. So I'm like, all right, dude. Like, I look at it, I'm like, yes, it's a big penis. It's like a udder just waving in the water. Just like,
yeah.
But the thing is, like, he was a shitty male swimmer. Mm-hmm. And became the best female swimmer.
Of course.
And then just the audacity to just like go in a corner. Cause like, when I was in high school, I changed whatever.
Yeah.
Now if I'm at Lifetime and I'm changing, I kind of find my little corner. I turn around, just get my stuff on.
Sure.
I'm not one of those guys blow drying my penis, you know?
Of course.
See those guys?
Yes.
Why would you do that? But imagine the audacity, the confidence.
Yeah.
First of all, you're a foot taller than these girls. You take off your bathing suit, your bikini. There's a big cock right there. And you're just flashing it. Like that at that point, he's just trolling.
He's trolling him. Troll. I mean, anybody can see that it's a troll. It's a troll.
Because if I was a swimmer with a big penis, I'd do the same thing. I'm neither. So I'm just going to stick to bodybuilding.
What would you have done though, if your daughter was in that locker room and felt uncomfortable?
Leah'd be knocked the fuck out. I'd be in jail. And I mean that, especially unless we were given a heads up, then I'd make a stink before it would happen. I would demand that she's not in the locker room with her, or we're going to have separate times my daughter goes in. I don't care if my daughter's 30. That's what's going to happen. Or someone's getting knocked out.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Leah. Maybe it's her dad, if she even has a dad. Maybe it's the chancellor of the school. Someone's getting knocked out because I don't have the self-control to not knock somebody out at that point.
Well, because it's a troll, and it's a troll that is, really hurting our kids in many ways. If your daughter's in that locker room and she's having to deal with this, and in a crazy world where we know everybody, they're all full of shit, trying to act like it's normal. It's like, no, you're not going to do that to my kid.
No, and that's the problem. The dads are okay with it, or they're just scared. Now, in Burbank, California, talk about the books in schools, the Armenian dads went hard. Armenians aren't about that stuff. Like, no, we need to quit this crazy shit in schools with the sexualized books.
Yeah.
The Armenians came together. And I lived in Burbank for a little bit, went to Glendale Community College for a summer. You do not want to mess with Armenians. Okay, they're legit folks, man. Like, you do not want to mess with them. So I love the Armenians, by the way. They're awesome. It's because I'm scared of their mafia. Their mafia is crazy. No, but I mean, it's sad that this can all stop if we just came together and just like, look, if you look at the riots in Seattle, in Portland, it's like 30 people. Can you imagine everybody you talk to as a like mind of yours got together and went to a school board meeting? You'd have hundreds of people.
Yeah.
But you know what? Nah, I just don't. I have a job. That's the thing. They hold your job against you. And the left is so good at canceling you. They'll tweet to your employer and they'll call. You have 10 people doing that to your job. It looks like 1,000.
Yeah.
You're done. So the left controls the narrative because everybody's afraid to be canceled. Everybody's afraid to be racist. Everybody's afraid now anti-Semitic. Anytime someone says anything about a leftist Jew, like anti-Semitic, shut up.
Yeah.
Shut up. Our people literally spent 25 years in the desert because someone dropped a quarter. And you're going to complain about like some soft shit like that? Shut up. Like, seriously. Like, that's the problem. Anti-Semitism is the new racism. If, God forbid, you're against what's going on in Israel, which, by the way, I haven't really made my opinion on that. I'll tell you why in a second. Is because it's just, the anti-Semitic term has become, it's the new racist. Because it's easy. It shuts people. Because then you go from making a point to defending why you're not anti-Semitic. That's racism. I think the economy's bad. You're racist. Then you go from talking about the economy to talking about how you're not racist. Well, I got a black friend. Look, he's black.
Right.
But yeah, I don't comment on Israel because I don't care. Because I don't live there. We should stop sending money to other countries until we figure out how to get out of our $33 trillion in debt. I'm an American.
Yeah.
Ukraine. Oh, well, I'm very, 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 very consistent. I don't think we should be sending shit to Ukraine. I don't think we should be sending shit to Israel. And my mom literally served the Israeli Defense Force.
Interesting.
Literally came from Israel. I'm a first-generation American. My mom's from Israel. I don't think we should send anything. You know why? Because right now I'm in America.
Yeah.
And until we can figure this out, I care. I don't want people to die. Us sending money is not going to prevent people from dying. And trust me, Israel doesn't need our money. They're operating in a surplus.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing is we have been, it's so easy to call somebody racist or anti-Semitic or homophobic or transphobic. And people are so afraid of those labels that they'll generally shut up and say, oh, sorry.
Exactly.
But the reality is, I do think things are changing because now, 4 years ago, a lot of people didn't know how to deal with that.
Yep.
Now we're like, screw this.
I'm racist. Great.
Like,
cool.
if that's what you think, like, which people are getting more comfortable in their skin, realizing I'm not whatever. Just because somebody says I'm something doesn't make it true.
A conspiracy theorist is my favorite.
Oh, yeah. I mean, how many conspiracy theories have actually come true? Let me ask you this question before that. How many wars has the United States gotten in since 1960 that have been, we've been told the truth about why we went into them?
We haven't won one.
Yeah.
We lost Afghanistan. Iraq's a mess. Vietnam, we lost. We did not win that war. It was not a draw. We lost because we went in and we left without completing the objective. That's a big L.
And we were lied into every single one of them.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, we're constantly lied to. And so if while it's going on, we're the ones out here yelling, hey, this is BS, they're not telling us the truth, we're called a conspiracy theorist. When in fact, it's were there weapons of mass destruction? I mean, God forbid you would have said, I don't believe what they're telling us at the time, because then it was like, oh, rah, rah, America, you can't think for yourself.
Yeah, Desert Storm, Desert Shield. Like I literally was preteen, teenager. I was like 10 to 13, I think was our age. And I remember, man, we lived right by an Air Force base in Edwards Air Force Base. We lived in a small town, California City, California. And I remember, dude, we just wanted to kill everything brown. America was like, fuck it, bomb the Middle East, bomb them all, kill them all. Yeah. And I'm like 10, I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing. Why? Yeah. And everybody had American flags on their antennas. Do you remember that? Mm-hmm. Everybody put American flags on their cars. They duct taped them to the antennas. Yeah. Because they didn't have the proper ones that go in the window now. Mm-hmm. And it was a thing like, dude, maybe it was just where I lived, but the nationalism was bloodthirst. Mm-hmm. It was bloodthirst. We just wanted to get them. Iraq, we really didn't have a reason. Now, 9/11, I could see the bloodthirst, right? Like that hit on our soil. Sure. Why were we so mad at Kuwait? Like, why did we even care?
Well, okay, I can tell you something interesting about Kuwait. So that was around 1990.
Yeah.
And there's a video of a girl that testified in front of Congress about how the hospitals in Kuwait were raided by Saddam Hussein, and there were babies out of the incubators dying. They flipped them over. And just this mass carnage that that Saddam Hussein and his group did towards their Kuwaiti hospitals. So she testifies to Congress. Her family was displaced. It turns out she was the Kuwaiti ambassador's daughter.
Oh my God.
It was all bullshit. And it was complete propaganda. People can watch this video of this little girl, but we were lied into that as well.
So they were killing babies?
No, they actually weren't. That was
the charge?
Oh yeah, that
should we tell them about abortion?
Well, well, yeah, that's a whole other subject. But no, that Saddam was out there doing it. I mean, that's a whole other. Actually, you said you're pro-choice.
I am.
What does that mean?
It means that I do believe in restrictions, but I do believe that. So I'm a libertarian. Mm-hmm. So libertarians normally. We're non-aggressionists, which is why Ron Paul is actually, Ron Paul is pro-life. Mm-hmm. But when you look at, so for example, we're anti-death penalty because, what was it? Who said it? Was it Ben? I forgot, Jefferson or Franklin or one of those old dudes. Like, it was like, if I have to let 5 guilty men free, it's better than executing 1 innocent man. Mm-hmm. So for me, it's like, what do you make? So rape, incest, very low, less than 0.5%. Mm-hmm. But if it's only 1, that's enough for me. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So let's set limits. If by 12 weeks you do not know you want an abortion, then you're literally killing something with a heartbeat. And dude, they have babies surviving at 21 weeks now. Mm-hmm. Like they're viable really early. So, I am pro-choice with limitations just because here's the thing. Another reason is we're never going to have
So 9 months though.
Little long.
Yeah. This is why I brought it up because I would consider myself more pro-life, but your exceptions might be, you might be more pro-life than me. And so when I hear the term pro-choice or pro-life, I'm like, well, what does it really mean? Because, a lot of people, let's say I'm at like 20 weeks. That's what, 5 months?
That's out of control.
So let's say that's where I think is about 20 weeks max, well, that could be more than you, but I would consider myself more pro-life.
Well, so let me be straight. I think abortion's murder.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
100%. It's murder.
Okay.
But we also have to realize in this world, you can't always have it your way. Mm-hmm. So you have to have compromise. You can't compromise murderers. We're never going to get over that one. So if Republicans ever want to win it, we're losing. Dude, Ohio lost the last elections, the special sessions, because of abortion. So if Republicans ever want to truly win, they need to figure out a way to come to a middle ground. Mm-hmm. And most Americans, I believe 70%, agree with me. My viewpoint is not crazy. It's like, hey, abortions, but we need to make it where you can't just do it at 9 months. Dude, the old governor, what was his name? the old governor from Virginia was actually lobbying for abortion after birth, where they make him comfortable and they kill him.
It's wild.
So I am, again, like personally, I'm pro-life.
Mm-hmm.
From a societal standpoint, we're never going to make that work.
Yeah.
It's just never going to work because we've convoluted everything with women thinking that pro-murder is pro-life, is pro-choice.
Well, and, I think with the abortion issue, it's like, when do you think that life begins? When is the baby viable? You said 21 weeks, about 1 in 10 babies at 21 weeks.
Not necessarily. That's very low chance, but we can't.
Yeah. I'm saying at 21 weeks, you're about 1 in 10. And that's, that's even in the best ICU.
Yeah, we've done it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that it's a home run every time, right? Like Barry Bonds hit a lot of home runs, but not every time he was that bad.
Yep.
So,
and that's why I'm at 16 to 20. Yeah. I say 16 to 20 as far as society, because it was pretty much that before the Supreme Court rule too.
I would well, the thing is, Roe v. Wade, and I might piss a lot of people off, but that should have never happened. This is a states' rights issue. Mm-hmm. I'm very federalist, and that's why I live in Tennessee.
Well, I worked on Ron Paul's 2012 campaign too.
All right.
So,
my man.
Yeah.
So he is pro-life.
Yeah, he was pro-life. Yep.
Yes, he still is.
Oh, yeah, yes. Yeah, he still is.
So, and the reason is he was an OBGYN, and he aborted a ton of babies, and he's like, wait a second, these are lives. Mm-hmm. And he's also non-aggression. Yeah. So libertarians are non-aggressionists. So it's a very difficult thing as a libertarian to embrace, that you have to, we need to set limitations, and it needs to be done by state. But I think the states that are just going all on, let's just ban abortion.
Yeah.
I think they're just shooting themselves in the foot to win bigger. So what's the bigger issue? Abortion or taxes? Abortion or foreign wars? Abortion or rights if there's another pandemic? What, abortion or Second Amendment rights? So I think conservatives need to, and I speak as someone who's not even a conservative, if they want to win, they need to figure out how to meet in the middle. And, the pro-life issue is not the one.
No, it's kind of an exhausting issue too. And I get the people that are really behind it. So, some of the people are very well-intended, and, that is their thing. But I also think that we throw the terms, the pro-life, pro-choice around. That's why I always ask people, what do you mean by that? Because I would consider you pro-life. And that's okay. I mean, whatever you could call it whatever you want. But I think that we don't realize there's a range of what that really means, if that makes sense.
It's not black and white. I think that we need to have, it's not even common sense. It's just, we need to come to some sort of agreement. Like where, hey, this is societally where we should be. And again, it can be state by state. Sure. Because there are some states that are majority pro-life. Yeah. The southern states, the Bible Belt, I would say a lot of those are. Yeah. I mean, it's, there are some states and they're getting, that I don't like them sending people to jail when, you have a life or death issue and that the mom is going to die and, the baby's at 4 months or something like it. Just seems outrageous to me when you lose the common sense in it. Well, the thing is with Roe v. Wade, it just means you have to travel to a different state. Like it just makes it how it should be. Yeah. Well, but I guess what I was saying, like in Texas, and I could butcher the case, but there's a story of a girl was having an emergency at the hospital in Texas, and it was basically her life or the 3 or 4 month old baby's life, and they aborted the baby. My understanding, I could be messing up the details, and she was in trouble because of it. And I don't think that's right. I think that you lose common sense in some of it too. That's the problem with black and white thinking. And that's the problem with a lot of laws, is that you lose that sense. Yeah. And again, like you look at what we put people in jail for, it's quite insane. Well, yeah. No, it's, it seems like now the justice system, is getting more and more weaponized. It used to be weaponized on drugs. Now it seems weaponized against naysayers. So our free speech, maybe what we say on the podcast could be heard by a DA somewhere. And that DA says, you know what? I don't like their ideology. So I'm going to find a charge to trump up on them. Trump, good word. Yeah. I mean, we've never had a fair justice system.
No, I agree.
America has never been right. There's Make America Great Again. It's never really been great.
Yeah.
I mean, think about, like, go through history. What are we, what's the again we're going for? 1920s when we put, what was 1940s, even later, we throw yellow people in camps. That was awesome, right? 1960s, we were spraying black people with fire hoses. Or maybe slavery. Let's go back to that. We can go throughout history. America has never been a perfect society.
All right.
But we keep getting better. What I don't want to see is that we stop and we end up regressing back to where we are. We're seeing schools segregate again. That's a problem.
Yeah, we're regressing.
We've made some great progress, but America's never been great. I'll argue America's the greatest it's ever been because we're awake.
Well, yeah, interesting. I mean, I look at like the 80s. I think maybe when I hear that, I think about the values that I grew up with. And, I feel like that part of America was great. At the same time, though, I think about the wars that we got into during that as well. And I'm like, well, so I was living in my understanding of what the perfect America was, but in reality, we were doing all of these bad things as a government. And
90s were pretty good.
90s were a lot of fun. That was in middle and high school.
Decade ever.
Yeah, I mean, and back then, you could still get in a street fight and not go to jail.
Of course.
Yeah, you could still be a man and not be demonized for being a man. You could, you could get along with black people and not be told that you're racist. Well, you're just getting along with them because what I'm saying? Like, it's so weird now, the definitions of everything.
Well, anti-racism is my favorite. Right. You have to be racist to undo the racism of the past.
Yeah.
It is someone explained it to me once. I'm like, people buy this shit? Like, so you have to be racist to not be racist?
Yes.
How about we just don't be racist?
Absolutely,
it's pretty simple,
man.
Like, all this stuff seems simple. Maybe I'm dumb or maybe I'm smart. I don't know which one, but it just seems like I just don't understand how the blue hairs don't align with me.
How the blue hairs?
They're just weird.
You don't mean the elderly.
Oh, yeah, not the elderly, the other blue hairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, hair dye is definitely toxic.
Tell me about the Kroger thing that happened during COVID with your company. Because that's where you got some headlines. You were on some different podcasts.
Yeah, I was on Timcast, and I was on a lot of really big shows. It was actually awesome, but it was a big hit. So we were in discussions. The Outright Bar was going into Kroger, and they announced that they were going, or it was leaked out. I don't know if it was announced that they were going to penalize those who did not get the COVID vaccine by giving them an extra surcharge on their monthly health insurance or whatever it was. And they're basically penalizing them. They're putting in their own mandate. And I just couldn't ethically do business with anyone who would penalize people for making a health decision, which ended up, in my opinion, being the right one. And again, you could disagree with me. Not you, but anybody can disagree with me. I pretty much know where you stand on it. So I called my buyer and I'm like, hey, by the way, I wrote an email actually. I'm like, hey, we can't ethically do business with you until this mandate goes away. And I'm like, I'm doing this basically for you, whatever, because, it's you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I just posted on Twitter. I'm like, hey, by the way, for those of you who expect us to be in Kroger, because I was really excited about it, right? Huge grocer. I'm like, hey, here's what I sent. FYI, we're not going to be in Kroger. Next thing it's being retweeted by like Donald Trump Jr. and all these guys. I'm like, oh, did not expect that. Next thing you know, it's like end of December. It's like December 27th. I fly out to go be on Timcast. And it was dope. I mean, but did it cost a lot of money? Yes, it hurt. The increase in Twitter value did nothing compared to what a sale to Kroger would do.
Yeah.
But I don't regret it at all because it was the right thing. And I'd rather, look, man, I'm not like hurting.
Mm-hmm.
I can afford to it's the least I can do. Some people lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
Some businesses lost everything. Like those people that Mark Cuban went and shut down their restaurants, they lost everything. Some people went to jail. A mom got arrested on a playground in Idaho. So all I do is I turn down one purchase order. Well, a few purchase orders, probably years of business. Yeah, I think it was the least I can do. But the thing is, I expected all these fitness companies are so like pretending to be for freedom and based and this and that. Nobody followed. Nobody did anything. I thought it would be an avalanche. I thought I would have started something. We would have made a difference. It did nothing.
No,
it did nothing.
Did you get like a lot of messages and stuff from people in support?
Yes.
What about the opposite? Did you get some haters? No haters?
No, none. That issue had none. Other than your random Twitter comment like, what are they? Anti-vax and this and that. And I'm like, I'm actually, all my kids, the biggest regret I have is not vaccinating my kids, but not looking at what was in the vaccines that they gave my kids. We just went to the hospital. Was like, hey, it's time for vaccines. Like, cool. Doctor's like, hey, they need their vaccine now. Cool, no problem. I didn't look at any of it.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd vaccinate my kids if I could do it all over again. Any of them.
Yeah, so you're not going to do the rest of the schedule for them?
Well, do they have any more left?
Oh, yeah.
10?
10, yeah. I mean, you got 71 by the time you're 18. HPV?
No, we're not doing that. We already turned that down.
Okay, yeah. I'm not sure.
That one scares me.
That's a big one. It's more impactful for the, like, let's say that you're looking at it from it's a good thing side. Cervical cancer.
Of course.
And right now for men are 7 times more likely to get something called a squamous cell cancer that's caused by HPV.
Oh.
We're actually really kind of known for treating it. But so I see I see people die of this cancer a lot personally.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's we have a lot of experience with patients with it. But the question on the side effects. That's a whole other one. It's hard to get a straight answer. Even me, who we have a vaccine lab. We have actually we're looking at mRNA technology for a specific cancer vaccine. Wow. So I mean I'm in it, but it's hard to know what is real and what's not real because the publications have been so hijacked in many ways.
Oh, it's terrible. The Lancet has been completely taken over.
Once great magazine.
I just look at, do they need all of those shots?
Yeah.
All of them. Now, some of them, you can pick which ones you want too. You don't have to do every one.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, whatever you say, doc, whatever you say, 2020. And I know a lot of people like this. It opened my eyes that I've been too trusting. The government told me to do something. I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I trusted our government.
And your doctors.
Yeah. Doctors really sold the bag for money.
They did, man. They sold us out. Many of them sold us out. And you realize now that they actually weren't reading a lot of the different papers.
They were getting $48,000 a patient in the hospitals.
Yeah, they were getting a bunch.
And the doctors were getting, for everybody they vaccinated, they were getting bonuses. It was criminal.
Yeah.
That should not be allowed, but it was.
Yeah.
And now the doctors, they've already sold out. They can't tell anyone they did.
Mm-hmm.
They can't be like, we regret doing that. Nope. So they're just going to ride it.
Yeah.
They're just going to roll with it because they can't admit they were wrong because that's criminal.
Yeah.
To admit you took money, that's got to be a criminal case right there.
Yeah. I mean, it's a lot of the stuff seems criminal. What Pfizer did seems criminal. What Fauci did seems very criminal.
Very criminal.
I mean, let's think about what he did. He first said you got to wear a mask or masks don't work. And then he said, oh, everybody's got to wear a mask. He then made the story up about herd immunity. And he later talked about how it was kind of made up just to get people to go and get the vaccine and that we were never going to really reach herd immunity. He's like, oh, at first I said 60%. Then I figured we raised a little bit to 70% to get more people. And then, I want to get them up to 85%. But it was all, he was playing. So he's actually saying this. This was like December of, was it 2021? Maybe. I think it might have even been in a 2021, where he was talking about lying to get more people to do it. And I'm like, how are we ever going to listen to this guy if he's acknowledging that he would lie to us to get us to do something like take a vaccine?
He even said that about the masks. He said not to use me. He said, well, I said not to use masks because there weren't enough masks for everybody.
Right.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Plenty of masks.
So now you're willing to say that you're going to lie just to get people to do something that you want them to do.
Remember when they shut down Ford and Chevy to build ventilators?
Yes.
Where are those ventilators?
Yeah.
They shut down auto manufacturing.
I have no idea. Yeah.
There's got to be millions of them.
When you think about the ventilators were actually being used too early.
They kill people. You go on a ventilator, it drastically reduces your chance of not dying.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're dying.
Yeah.
That's last resort. But they're like, oh, COVID, vent.
Vent
48K,
everybody.
baby, let's go. It was just sad. But I regret vaccinating my kids without, again, I don't regret vaccinating. I regret not knowing what the hell I gave them. Because I might have decided to give them every single one.
Yeah.
But I didn't even care. I'm putting the stuff, I'm the father. I'm supposed to protect my children.
Yeah.
And I'm literally going in and I'm just like, yep, whatever you say, doc.
Yeah, but it's logical. Now we've all had a traumatic life experience.
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm not doing this shit again. And you've learned. Yeah, we're all doing the very best that we can in life with what we've been taught.
Yep.
And that's what you're doing. You're obviously like a soldier for your kids, and you're a little upset with yourself, but give yourself a little grace too, because
I can't do anything about it now.
No,
but my grandkids,
there you go.
I'll be that based grandpa.
Hey, me too. I'm gonna be that way with my kids too. Yeah. I refuse for them to get 71 vaccines. Like I said, we have a cellular manufacturing lab. We've got an autologous vaccine lab. We're going to be using the mRNA technology for our neoantigen vaccine.
mRNA is fascinating.
Yeah.
mRNA.
mRNA, yep.
It's so fascinating.
Yeah, it's a great delivery technology. My stance on it is this. It wasn't ready for the masses.
Bingo.
I'm okay with it in the sense that, okay, we've got a metastatic cancer patient that is going to is likely to die of their stage 4 terminal cancer. And if we have 600,000 people a year die of cancer, and best case scenario, this vaccine's in 100,000 people a year that is going to likely die of their cancer, and this is going to extend their life, or and it has a side effect profile that's much less than chemotherapy or the other immunotherapies. It logically makes sense. Now, do I think we should give that to 5 billion people, to 7 billion people? That's where I'm coming from. It's a logical.
No, I'm 100% with you. I'm a huge fan. I remember reading about it a while ago in just steroid application. Think about it. You're literally turning on genes.
Well.
Application of just anabolics. You're building super soldiers.
Well, you can do that, with the CRISPR technology too. And we've got some really brilliant scientists that work with us that are our leaders.
Create monsters down there.
It's we've gotten kind of so big. We've got to be very,
I'm kidding. Just have like monsters. Captain America shit. You inject him with some stuff, comes out.
Yeah,
he's Captain America.
No, what can be done is the future is bright when it comes to, the potential of the gene therapies.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it's very bright. We've got to have, the mRNA technology isn't really a gene therapy, but it was thrown on us. Like, yes. I would have been way happier if they didn't say we're going to go with mRNA and that they went with the old school vaccines.
Yeah.
Because, we understand the mechanisms, et cetera. There's a lot of unknowns with the mRNA.
And the Johnson & Johnson, right?
Yeah, I forget what that was done with. But yeah, that's an example. That and the, what was the other, AstraZeneca.
Yeah.
They both didn't have the mRNA. But, you go into, when you look at Pfizer and you look at Moderna, and then you look at the Moderna patent, you realize that the NIH was the ones that actually owned the patent, and they were licensing part of the patent to Moderna, and that there was actually a contract that was written in December of 2019 for about this patent for on the COVID things that were going on. You're like, what is agreements between NIH and Moderna? How does this even
coincidence?
How is this even happening?
Coincidence.
Yeah. And, we were lied to in that January. when they said, that it wasn't spreading from person to person. It's a big, we've been lied to a lot.
Yeah.
And I think that people are waking up to that fact. Sounds like you and I were on the same page during COVID
The whole
and
time.
speaking it out loud. And we were the crazy ones in. It was kind of lonely for a while, wasn't
Just
it?
us and Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, right? Thank God for Aaron Rodgers.
Thank God
man.
he's the guy. Now he's McAfee's not on the show anymore.
No?
Yeah, ESPN, ESPN ain't having any of that.
Oh, I heard that he, and he went after somebody.
Kimmel. Jimmy Kimmel.
That's right.
Yep. I mean, ESPN does not want any of that smoke because they're like, he's called a conspiracy theorist all the time when he's been right.
Yeah.
Every step of the way.
Well, it'd be funny to go down the list of what he's been called a conspiracy theorist and be like, conspiracy theorist is like, check.
He brought up, I was listening to it on the way here. He brought up how he was called an anti-Semitic and all this. He's like, how did that even, what? He's not even political. He just, he's a hippie.
Yeah.
As all athletes, I don't think any of the athletes actually got the shot.
I don't know, man. I think, I think.
If you made money with your body, would you put an experimental therapy
Hell
in your
no.
body?
Hell no.
I'm gonna get a fake one. I know a couple who got the fake ones.
Yeah, I do too, actually. But
I wouldn't. I know a couple soccer players I know did.
Yeah.
Professional soccer players. They were like, yeah, but I don't know. I think I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just too risky. Like, you make your money with your body.
Yeah. No, it's very risky.
Do you really think Kelsey's going out getting boosted?
Probably. I mean, that guy's pretty weak though.
He's a great tight end.
Yeah, great tight. End.
Is he though, or is he just getting paid? If you offer me $20 million to put 2 Band-Aids on a commercial,
I wouldn't do it.
I would.
No, I wouldn't.
20 million, you wouldn't see me again. I'd be in Puerto Rico.
Well, but put yourself like you're thinking about from a business money side. But if it's going to manipulate people into taking something that could kill them, I mean,
what if he doesn't believe it can kill him?
Well, fair.
What if he just thinks it's at worst ineffective?
Yeah.
Which a lot of people do believe.
I think that, yeah, so who knows what he believes? Who knows what he believes? But if he really did realize how much BS it was, he couldn't pay me enough either.
So do you think the vaccine is a net positive, a net negative? If you were to take it, like, for example, if I'm looking at the pros and cons, do you think any population benefits from it?
Yeah, I think like 65 and up, those that are morbidly obese probably benefit. Okay. Probably.
I think
I don't think the extra boosters are good.
Athletes, I think, is the scary ones because your heart's already enlarged.
Yeah.
Athletes have bigger hearts. So if you have something that might cause those issues and they push their heart, like fat people pushing their heart is normally just getting up off the couch, right? Like, but if you're really an athlete exerting, I think that's why we're seeing what appears to be an uptick in athletes.
It could be COVID too, though. That's my other thing.
COVID also causes that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I haven't been one, but like, it's all the vaccines. But
same.
I don't think that the over 65, I think good's probably good. Under 65, not morbidly obese, just a little activity every day would have made a big difference for a lot of people. Get your vitamin D, get some sunlight, natural sunlight. But I think it was probably a net positive 65 plus, net positive for those that are morbidly obese. But I think that it was negative across the board for anybody that was under 40 that wasn't morbidly obese that got it.
Yeah, and I think kids is just. I can't. And they put on the childhood vaccinations.
This is ridiculous.
Which doesn't make sense. Isn't it still emergency youth authorization?
No, I think it's approved now.
Okay.
So, actually, I watched the FDA, the hearings on it, and I did like Dr. What's his name? Hudsbreath. I messed up the last name probably a little bit, but he's the head of Meharry, and he's actually a brilliant scientist, PhD, Rhodes Scholar, immunologist. With his focus on T cells. And in that hearing, he was on the board of the FDA that approved the jab for the children. But he said what nobody else would say. He's like, I just don't want this to be used to make everybody, it mandated for all kids. He said, if this is at the time, he said, if 44% of the population under 18 have already got COVID, we shouldn't be basically vaccinating those 44%.
Really? He said,
oh, yes. And he said, the only reason basically I'm approving this is because I think the kids with major pre-existing conditions should have the right to get it. I actually could see his logic on that.
Absolutely.
So I appreciated that. But I also really appreciated him saying what he said. And he was acknowledging natural immunity before it was popular. Nobody else wanted no mainstream.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as natural immunity.
It's literally a thing for everything.
Yeah, 27 times more effective than the vaccine from an Israeli study back, one of the first big ones to come out, large population group, 27 times more effective.
Yeah.
And, but it was stifled.
The amount of people I know who are vaccine injured from that vaccine is pretty much over 50% of the people I know who are vaccinated.
Really?
A lot of vaccine injured.
Wow.
Maybe it's my personal group. Maybe they're just pussies. But yeah, I know 2 locally.
Really?
Who were severely vaccine injured. Yeah.
Wow. I mean, I know a few, but I never thought about it. How many people that I know that got it that actually?
I know a few who got it. I know a lot who don't. It's about equal for me.
Yeah.
It's but I mean, you tend to surround yourself with people who are like-minded.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I know either got it because they had to, or they wanted to travel, or they just didn't get it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people I know are like, I'm not getting that. Nope, not doing it.
Yeah. No, I had a lot of friends that didn't get it, and then some friends that did, and I didn't know if someone wanted to get it, no big deal. That's their choice.
It's your body, your choice.
Yeah. Well, Mark, anything else you want to go over? We've been rapping for a while now.
I'm good to go. I appreciate you having me here, man. We talked about everything.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on, and be interesting to have you come back on in a year or so. And we catch back up.
It's right by it's 20 minutes from my house, man.
Awesome, brother. Well, thanks a lot.
Appreciate you so much, brother.
Thanks.
Thank you.